Oh. Look there. A very good morning and welcome to day number 2 at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour here at Mount Panorama. What a glorious morning it is on this Super Saturday. A huge day set in store as we've got qualifying coming up, a 3-part qualifying system later on today for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. Good to see some fans already filing through first thing this morning. It's not quite as chilly as what it was yesterday. The wind not quite as strong either, and some kids up bright and early. I tell you what, these sports cars and sedans are probably going to wake up a few of those punters on top of the hill here this morning that might have had a big Friday night. And of course, Skippy, yes, did make an appearance on track yesterday, but they're enjoying some of the delegates of Mount Panorama here on this Saturday morning. Brian van der Wacker and Gary O'Brien alongside you for the opening session of this morning. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you. Great to be here. Hello to everyone. Happy Valentine's Day to all those betrothed, and I think the wives should be staying home and have a bit of a sleep in. But all the very solid fans are out here to see the Duggins Family Hotels combined sports cars and sedans. And, well, what have we got to tell you? We've got to tell you that Brad Shields went from start to finish leading all the way. But did you know, on the out lap, power steering failed.
Oh, really?
That's why he was struggling across the top of the mountain. He said it was the hardest race he has ever done, and his heart rate went to 200.
You're kidding. I was, we were talking about heart rates yesterday, wasn't it, in terms of the battle, particularly in Ferrari Challenge yesterday and how high that would be, but 200 beats per minute, you'd almost be putting yourself in to see the doctor on a Monday morning with beats like that. Interesting to note yesterday as well, we saw some great battles up and through the field. Stephen Lacey was in amongst the mix. Of course, he was second yesterday. Ben Gomersall was position number 3. But some of the other stories, we often speak of overnight stories here at Mount Panorama, and one of them involved Mark Duggan. The team were here quite late last night.
Yeah, they were here till about 10 to 12 last night. They had a drive line failure in that car as it headed up towards the cutting, and fortunately was able to pull over near the wall, and that caused the first safety car. We had a second safety car for Seth Burkhardt in the Porsche that unfortunately had a drive shaft failure, and that was the car that actually won the original GT3 Cup Challenge with his father, Sven.
And there's Mark Duggan on screen, so he's got that car back out there for today. Another car about to go through shot right there, the number 5 TA2 Mustang of Blake Tracy. He's back on track this morning as well. He pulled up on Conrod Straight yesterday. He was a little cautious, Gary, because he did make a touch with the wall. Yeah,
there's a few wound marks on the right rear of that car at about the grate where he just touched the wall, and because it's his car for the championship this year, he said if it was a championship race he would have continued, but because it isn't, discretion was a better part of Valor, and decided that he would park it and make sure that everything was all right. One of the other TA2 cars that didn't make the grid was Tyler Cheney. He's back today. Lee Stibbs, we have to talk about Lee Stibbs. That car, the IRC GT, was substantially damaged with an incident with Cheney in qualifying. It took 80 minutes to fix that car. He started from the rear of the grid and ended up in 11th position.
That's good effort indeed in order to get that car repaired in such a quick time to get back out there yesterday. So it's going to be another 30-minute session that we're going to see here for race 2 of the weekend. 10 laps, so really whatever comes first. And yesterday we did see the intervention twice of the safety car, which didn't quite get us to the 10 laps, but certainly got us to that 30-minute mark, and it'll be a rolling start, which we'll see as well.
Indeed, and another thing about the Stibbs entry, it's the first time racing here.
Yeah, right.
So it's not a bad effort, and what a way to do it. So there'll be quite a few cars coming from the back of the field that had dramas. Johnny Goodacre in another of the IRC GT cars, he was prominently placed in a top 10 position when he had a spin down at Hell Corner, and he was able to recover from that and got himself in the top 20. So he's got old tyres on today and hopefully give himself a prominent position for the last race this afternoon.
Rolling through your lineup there, it's going to be Shields and Lacey on the front row. If you're asleep around here at Mount Panorama, you won't be for much longer, because the thunderous roar of the sports cars and sedans is about to wake everyone up on this Saturday morning qualifying day at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. Shields on that inside front row, Lacey alongside him. We go green, and just like yesterday, Lacey not getting away on that outside front row as Gomersall takes away second spot. And look at Nathan Hurt, aggressive on the inside into turn number 1. He slots himself into position number 3, but Lacey, he is going back at a rapid rate of knots here, Gary.
He is. They had a touch going through that corner. Scotty Taylor's got a good start as well. He's picked up some spots, and I think it's Lockie Harburg in there as well. They had a great battle towards the end of the race yesterday, so it looks like that rivalry has resumed. It's very tight between the Porsches there, one of them trying to go up the inside of Andy Hall into the turn 2 there.
Yeah, that was Jake Donaldson. I caught up with him yesterday afternoon as I was leaving the track, and they've got some new tyres bolted on that car for this particular race. It was an older set that they had yesterday, so expecting a little bit more pace. And he said to me that, you know, when I go to some other tracks, yeah, okay, you know, it's like being at a racetrack, so what? But he goes, coming here, I've never smiled so much by being at a venue. He absolutely loves this place and can't wait to, again, do some more miles around here today. Shields leading, but Hearn, like we saw at the initial start yesterday, very strong going across the top of the mountain, but he will probably lose a lot of that speed up against the sports sedan when they go back down the chute. And we've got Carr around and hard into the wall on driver's right, going down into the S's.
It's one of the IRC cars. Was that Harburg? I think it might have been Harburg in the IRC car that's gone in there.
Dangerous position as well. It's parked right there on the turn-in point before you go into the dipper. It's dislodged the front end of that race car. And I dare say there's going to probably be a bit of a clean-up there as we've got...
Trent White in the production car Mustang pulled up. That car won the Australian Production Car Championship last year with him at the wheel.
So Shields out in front, Hearn in second, Gomersall holding third with Lacey there in position number 4. We stay green for the moment, and hopefully we might be able to retrieve that car once the field passes that particular point on the racetrack. Such a wide variety of cars here, and they continue to snake their way down into the chase. And like we mentioned, it's good to see that car is back rolling again, so we might be able to stay green as Harburg is going to try and get this car back into the lane. Beautifully presented car, being the Camaro, but unfortunately it's going to go no further. He's going to try and pull off here on the left-hand side of the road and just try and park it in behind the wall there. Here's a replay of the start. So a good initial jump by your pole sitter in Shields, but look at Lacey again, just couldn't quite get away, and Hearn was very lucky not to make contact with the back of Gomersall.
Well, Hearn was snookered, really, wasn't he? He tried to go to the outside and then turn to the inside. Here we go with this incident for Harburg.
So he'll come across the top of the screen. He's side by side with another car there, so hard to tell at that point if there was contact, but he makes quite heavy impact with the outside wall there. And like we mentioned, just dislodges the front end of that race car, but good job getting that car back into a safe position on driver's left heading down Conrod Straight. And listen to the sound as the front splitter and the hood makes contact with the road. How was Hearn then crossed up at the turning point going through McPhillamy Park there? Typical of these TA2 cars, they move around quite a lot on the surface.
Well, it's that baggy tyre that makes them that way. It was Andy Hall that was alongside of Harburg going across the top of the mountain when Harburg went off. That's a white Porsche you see there behind Donaldson and Taylor.
Donaldson making use of those better tyres. They're going around the outside of Taylor, then going down into the S's. Taylor just struggling here in the early portion of this race. We saw some good speed from him late yesterday. We've got a localised yellow down there at Forest Elbow. Dare I say it might be the Harburg car that's parked on the left-hand side of the road here. Indeed it is. So
more or less just to let them know that it's there.
Yes.
I don't think anyone backs off.
And double-waved yellows coming down Conrod Straight as well, so there's probably another car parked somewhere down here, or maybe it might be some of the wildlife around here at Mount Panorama as well that we sometimes see first thing during the morning. So Taylor's got his work cut out here. He's got two other Porsches in behind him, and Stibbs a little bit further back, making a nice recovery effort from that crash that we saw him have in qualifying yesterday.
Well, actually, the fastest of these Porsches, or the one that finished first of these Porsches, is the one in the back of the 4. That's Jason Miller.
And we sort of missed him a little bit yesterday because he was suffering with a bit of a transponder issue. Now, just looking at Mark Duggan a little bit back through the pack and seeing how far he's come through in the early stages of this race. He's still a fair way back. We're waiting for our timing screens here to try and click over to find out where he is, but started well back in the 50s, believe it or not, after that driveline issue that he had yesterday. He's up to position 27 currently, so that's near enough to 20 spots already gained on the opening 2 laps.
Another car that's making good progress too is Ryan McMillan in that green IRC GTSS Sports, and he pulled into the pits there, just wasn't aware of the procedures when it came to some of the safety cars, the second one particularly, and mistakenly pulled into the pits and drove back out. That's what the problem was there. So he's making up ground. Here he is in the back of shot here, up behind one of the Evos by the look of it.
Let's go back towards this battle a little further back as well as Carr.
That's Miller going past.
Stibbs it was, going past down the inside there at Hell Corner.
Yep.
And look at the flames and a little bit of the oil dry on the outside of the racetrack as our race leader in Shields tips it in, and likewise for Nathan Hearn there across the top of Mount Panorama. Not easy to do it this first thing in the morning when the track conditions are a little colder, and here comes Lacey using the pace now of that sports sedan, heading back down Conrod Straight. He'll move past Gomersall in the ex-SBR Ford FG Falcon, heading down Conrod Straight, moves himself now up into position number 3. Won't be too far until we see Lacey catching onto the back of Hearn here as well. And again, he'll use the pace going up Mountain Straight on the next lap.
He's not that far off Hearn as well, and as we've seen in yesterday's race, Lacey had more pace towards the end of the race than what Hearn did.
It's interesting, isn't it, how exactly like yesterday, that car just didn't get off the line. And we saw that during the restarts yesterday too, once the 2 safety car periods that we have. So a little bit for Lacey to try and improve on him, particularly once we get to the 3rd and final race a little bit later on this afternoon, as Stibbs now having a look underneath the back of Carr here, heading down into the final turn at Murray's Corner, and he picks off another spot, so making his way back through the field as well. Carr almost thinking about going back down the inside at Hell Corner, but we'll make no further ado as look at Hearn. Sideways now through Griffin's Bend, trying to hold off the number 2 of Lacey. We knew Lacey was going to catch onto the back here of Hearn, but now he's going to have to sit behind him as they go across the top of the racetrack.
For information, 285 kilometres an hour for Shields down the Conrod Straight the last time. He did get to 292, we did see, on the radar, which is not the fastest part of Conrod. Not far off it, but by the same token, very quick twin rotor turbo.
Oh, Hearn dropping the right-hand side of the car off the exit of the road there at McPhillamy Park, and now he slides his way down the S, having to fight for all that he's worth here at the moment. But we know that Lacey is going to use the pace of this IRC Sports sedan once they get down Conrod Straight. Hearn's made a really good run for it here going down into Forest Elbow, but I don't think that margin's going to be big enough for him, as now the Sports sedan Mustang will try and reel him in. Here's this moment again. Oh, it's not often you get away with the right-hand side of that car, particularly the right rear, getting dropped off into the dirt there.
You know, he'd be almost laughing about that. Yeah. He says there's so much fun out there. I said, you didn't get frustrated at all yesterday across the top? He said, no, it's just great fun. So Lacey moves in the second spot. 295 for him down the straight on that occasion.
Probably helped a little bit with the draft in behind Hearn, at least at the top of Conrod Straight, as well as he'll pass one of the 86s here, and Hearn also gets by
in the single 86 that's running here this weekend.
And here's this change for position number 2, so Lacey quite easily in the end, and Hearn really gave him the space. He didn't think better of it and just let him go because he knew that he was going to be a lot faster. And speaking of Hearn, this about is as close as you want to get, if not maybe a rub against the wall there on the right-hand side.
I think he wants to finish the weekend with it intact. The car has been sold, so be very keen to keep it intact. As we see Scotty Taylor coming through ahead of Brad Carr by the look of it.
Burkhart's in arrears too, followed by Morris, so a nice little battle here between the Porsches.
There's Johnny Goodek going down through the final corner.
And here comes Mark Duggan as well in the 58 Aston Martin.
And McMillan.
Yep, so they're trying to make their way through the field, and Duggan might pick off both of these cars heading down Meguiar's pit straight. He does indeed, so he continues to move his way up through the field. Still outside the top 18 from what I can see on our timing screens. When that flicks over, I'll let you know exactly where he is.
We're looking at Anthony Cox
position
in the
21.
The Dodge NASCAR-powered Saab. And he's just past Goodacre going up the hill. Just in behind him is Christian Millett in the car that Jack LeBrock raced here in this category in 2022 and won all 3 races. That's a former 888 built Techno Commodore.
So Duggan started in 50th position in this race, and after 4 laps, he's made up 29 spots already. And here comes Jake Donaldson, squeezes his way down the inside going into Forest Elbow and makes up another spot there on Miller. So Donaldson, with those fresher tyres on the car now, is up to position number 5, and that was a change in class as well. So this is a class battle, and it's not done with yet, because Miller almost made contact with the rear bar of Donaldson going down Conrod Straight then, as Donaldson will now sit in the draft heading down into the chase.
Wow, it's certainly got a bit more pace in that Porsche than the black car. Probably just got a little bit better run out of Forest Elbow. There's the Saab again. What a variety of cars we're seeing there. There's Blake Tracy, who DNF'd out of yesterday's race. He's another that's making up ground, and he's actually ahead of Duggan on the road.
So Blake Tracy in 17th position at the moment, and he started down in 47th position. So he's made up just as many spots, if not more, than Mark Duggan at the moment. So it's the battle of the drivers that can move their way forward throughout this race. And Duggan, oh, he has to be cautious there on the inside of Patiacci, going through the left-hander. The last thing you want to do is make contact. Oh, it looks like in the background McMillan might have gone straight ahead there at the chase and got back onto the racetrack. scary little moment for him there as well. So some more spots here for Duggan. So Tracy in 17th. Duggan comes back across the line and he's in position number 19 now. So that's 31 spots he's made up.
Well, there's one thing about the Duggan car, you certainly hear it when it goes past. It's the deepest, throatiest sound of any car out there. SB2 Chev NASCAR engine in that Aston Martin car that won the 2012 Australian Sports Sedan Series with Kerry Barley.
Miller down the inside, and here comes Tracy as well. And he'll look towards, I thought for a moment he's going to go around the outside of Miller. Speaking of a dive bomb move, here comes Duggan underneath Goodacre. He'll get the job done going into the forward cutting here. It was dicey then going into the left-hander. It almost had shades of Greg Murphy and Marcus Ambrose from back in 2005.
Yeah, Goodacre. He's in his 30th year of continuous racing. And he said, you'd think I'd be getting faster, but I'm getting slower.
Well, I'm going to let that one go through to the keeper, in fact, I think.
There, Matt O'Brien bringing in the former supercar into the pits. One of the few VS cars that had a Larry bar in it. Nice.
Going back to your race leader here, Shields out in front. He's got a 6.9 second margin between himself and Lacey out in front, so he's doing it quite comfortably at the moment. Remember yesterday we had 2 safety car periods, so he kept getting brought back to the pack, and it meant that his race-winning margin at the end of yesterday was only 3 seconds, so he's enjoying a little bit more clean air out in front today and a little bit more clear air behind him as well. Lacey comfortably at the moment in that second spot with Hearn, Gomersall and Donaldson rounding out the top 5.
Coming up on the back of Rob Vanderkamp in an XWPS supercar. Car had a puncher in qualifying and in race 1.
Oh, I was holding my breath then as Shields came across the back of Jason Gomersall in one of the production car Mustangs that we see competing in the Bathurst 6 Hour. And the differential, or the difference in speed, I should say, between these cars going across the top is something that you always have to be careful and can sometimes catch you out. We saw that yesterday in the final practice session for the bronze-only drivers in the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour. Traffic is always busy here at Mount Panorama.
Especially when you get into the lap cars, as they are now. Just coming on the back of Graham Smith's Chef-powered Mazda RX-7.
You can see how cautious Lacey was being then, as well as here we go, the battle of the hard charges. Tracy and Duggan going into Griffin's bed. They're side by side at contact, and Duggan's going to have to park it up against the wall there on the left-hand side.
I think he's just nudged that tyre barrier. Shame for Anthony Cox there. He was, I don't think he realised that Duggan was also going to follow through there. Did tighten up a little bit, but
I think you probably called that right. Didn't realise there was another car in behind Tracy there, and both cars are stopped there on the left-hand side of the road. Didn't really make heavy contact with the tyre barrier, but might have bent something in the left front, because it was quite significant contact between the pair of them as Duggan now finds reverse and will try and get that car moving again. But what was well over 30 spots he'd made up, he's going to have to do it all over again in race 3 this afternoon. He might get some TV time though once we go live with Fox and Kaya this afternoon, because he will be certainly one to watch out for as he fights his way through the field again.
Well, he is the category sponsor as well, so he's forgiven for anything he does out there.
If anyone's probably deserving of airtime, it's probably him. And we do go safety car conditions with... Really
well, you put the mocker on that, didn't you?
About 2.5 laps to go. We do find the intervention of the safety car. We've still got a fair bit of time here, but not sure if we'll get back under green flag conditions. We might have maybe a 1-lap sprint to the end.
Duggan's got going again, fortunately. So it'd be pretty hard to pluck gears when they've got sequentials in them.
Yeah.
Especially getting, if you're in reverse and getting it back into a forward gear.
So for Cox, he's still parked up there, but you can see Duggan just getting that car back under pace once again. So bring the field back under the control of the safety car. It was Shields that had a 12-second lead over Lacey, and then Hearn, Gomersall, Donaldson leading the class at the moment for our sports cars. Miller, Stibbs, Hall, Carr and Taylor, your top 10.
Here's another replay of this incident at turn 2. Hearn goes through, then Duggan attempts to follow him. Cox went to take the line, and that's what happens.
It'll be over quite quickly, can't it, here at Mount Panorama? Things happen awfully quickly. And the safety car just letting the field go by before it catches the leader.
When you've got around 54 cars out there, it's pretty hard to find the leader at times.
It is a tough job, isn't it? And they'll have their work cut out for them, you would think, tomorrow as well. In the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. Plenty coming up here on your Super Saturday qualifying day here. Up next, we'll have practice session number 5 over the distance of 1 hour for the 12-hour cars. Then we'll have qualifying for race number 2 of Ferrari Challenge before we head back into practice session number 6, which will be the last practice session for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. And then after our lunch break, we'll have a 2-part qualifying, the lower 50% out first before the upper 50%. And we've got our supports back on before the final part, the Pirelli pole battle to round out the day here at Mount Panorama before we gear up for tomorrow's 12 hour itself. And you can see now the safety car has picked up the leader heading up Mountain Straight. We've got 2 laps to go, so if we can do a quick recovery, you can see the recovery vehicle in the back of shot there. We might be a chance, possibly, of getting a 1-lap dash in here.
I dare say Nathan Hearn will look forward to having another go at Stephen Lacey for second spot, as he did at the opening of this race.
Yeah, Lacey needs to pick up that pace on those restarts, doesn't he? Because he's going to be coming under attack on this final lap, because we know if Hearn can build a bit of a margin going across the top of the mountain, if he gets by him, of course, that is, and he might be half a chance. And Duggan now bringing that car back into the lane once again. So
he's definitely starting off the back of the grid for the next one as well.
That's right. It's a weekend of what could have been for Mark Duggan, but unfortunately, it's been the weekend that he would not have wanted. And you can still see that Cox is parked there on the left-hand side of the road, and the recovery team will try and get him into a safer spot. It's been one of the popular support categories up here over the years, the sports cars and sedans. What theoretically started as a regularity event over the Easter weekend sort of has turned into what we love and come to see today as the support category, really one of the headline acts for the 12-hour.
Now that they've, the last couple of years, have allowed sports cars in to give it a theme for what is generally the weekend anyway, Trophy Series cars are now eligible. Yeah,
a lot of older spec GT cars, and so much so the category management for this series has decided this year that they'll lower the benchmark time from what was previously a 2:09 to a 2:05 here at Mount Panorama. We haven't really seen those 2:05s this weekend. We've got a 2:08.3 as the fastest lap of the race so far for Lacey, but
we've seen a 6 in qualifying.
Yes, exactly.
So I think bringing it down to 2:05 takes away that idea of having to manage a race off your speed, because last year we did have that. Jeff Taunton, who drove the green IRC car, won all 3 races, but he blew out in race 2 and got a 5-second penalty, which dropped him to second. So you have to manage your whole lap by your Motec or whatever system you're using, and this takes that away. You don't have to worry about that at all. And
when you're a race car driver, and when that helmet's on,
yeah,
the only thing you want to do is go fast. Exactly. You don't want to be thinking about trying to stick to a lap time. And there's Mark out of the car.
Planning to do a couple of Touring Car Masters rounds this year as well in a Holden Commodore, car that won the championship the year before last.
And the team down there will go to work to get that car right for race number 3 this afternoon, which will be just after 2:30.
Flat tyre.
There we go. I think we just got the...
That's Rob Tebb talking to him there, looking after the car this weekend.
You've probably heard it then, a flat tyre, so that would have been the cause for that car coming back into the lane. So if that's all it is, that'll be an easy fix for later on this afternoon. Lights still on our safety car. Field bunching up behind it, and you can see with that slower pace, they're
1-lap dash,
trying to, if they can, get ourselves a 1-lap showdown here. And I'd be interested to see that battle for the sports car class between Donaldson and Miller, because they're next to each other on the road in positions 5 and 6 overall. thing I love about this class is the wide variety of cars. I mean, look at it in that one shot. You've got an 86, you've got a Lamborghini, you've got a TA2 Mustang with Tyler Cheedy there as well. It's something for everyone really here, particularly when you're up on the hill.
And they do award prizes to individuals in different categories, like space frame or chassis cars or sports cars. So everything's covered, and usually in the chassis cars, it's split into groups based on their times. There's Tony Cox out of that car, out of the Saab. Unfortunately, he was going pretty well for this time around. He had a electrical gremlin in qualifying, which negated any chance of getting a reasonably good time.
Fans up on top of the hill having fun already. Yes, you are on screen. There we go. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope you're having fun here this morning. Looks like they've probably had a big Friday night, maybe recovery on this Saturday morning, eh? We are going slow at the moment. 3, 4, that's 4 fingers. We didn't get quite the 5, but that's all right. So last lap here, we are under safety car conditions. Probably a good chance, though, to have a quick shout out to all of our working officials and volunteers here this weekend. They're going to have such a long day tomorrow, of course, as we know. They'll be here bright and early, as they have been all weekend so far, but tomorrow is a long day, particularly for some of those that have to wave the blue flags throughout tomorrow as well, because that's often a job and a half when you've got a 12-hour race ahead of you. But thank you to everyone who's here this weekend. And of course, the simple thing is we wouldn't be able to go racing without our working officials and volunteers.
Well said.
So last up on this one, it will be Shields, Lacey, Hearn, Gomersall and Donaldson, your top 5. And of course, these cars will be out again this afternoon. They'll be broadcasted here in Australia on Fox Sports and KO as well. Stibbs, we saw rolling through screen there. He made his way up to position number 7 in this race. So a nice little drive from him after what was a disastrous day for him yesterday. And there's some of the local sights around here at Bathurst. We love this place. You love this place, Gary, I know. Dear to your heart.
I wasn't real keen on that place that you see in the middle. That was the school I went to.
Oh, perfect. As a commentator, I'm now lost for words. Is Robbo there this morning? There's the old shakedown. The Richard Crowell fan club up bright and early this morning too, which is good to see.
You know, it's a real drama walking back anywhere with Richard now, because he gets stopped all the time to have his photo taken.
He's the big deal. There he is. Look at that, right on cue. Fantastic. I think he'll be part of the... Actually, let me just have a look. The signing session, in fact, coming up this afternoon at 3 o'clock for the Bathurst 12-hour, and Richard Crowell will be there, in fact. It is strictly for half an hour, but I reckon if we open it up, Richard might be there for 60 minutes this afternoon.
I dare say he'll be in the Valentino Rossi pit of Brock ilk, that he'll stay there till the last fan is gone.
This might be our last session that we call this weekend, Gary. Oh, dearie me. So Shields will eventually bring us to the line. And there we go. Hello, everyone. Very good morning to you all. There he is, the man himself, in fact. We've got John here as well, just mixing it in amongst us all before, of course, these boys settle themselves in for the practice session. Practice session number 5 coming up just after this for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. But we have got a great little setup in here. And, of course, you boys will be in here for 12 hours tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that as well. But we've got it all. We've got screens at plenty. So you'll have lots of information that our wonderful broadcast will be giving you tomorrow throughout the course of the 12 hours itself. So there is the man, Brad Shields, from Bathurst, knows this place extremely well.
Don't know why he's warming his tyres up now.
Well,
getting a checkered flag at the end of this lap,
that's right.
Imagine.
That's right. So,
unless they're going to give him another lap,
that would be something. Our elapsed time not quite at the half-hour mark, but we are on tight schedule to get the Bathurst 12-hour cars out at 8:05 for their practice session number 5. There's Blake Tracy. He made his way up through the field in this race, position number 13. So he started 47th in this one. So he would be your hard charger if there was a hard charger award.
He's just behind Warwick Morris, who did a miraculous job missing John Goodacre yesterday when John spun down at turn 1.
So the safety car has peeled off. Haven't heard any word if there is going to be an extension to this race, but the way that Shields is coming to the line, I dare say that the checkered flag will probably fly here once they come across the start-finish line, as indeed it does. So Shields will get the job done. All he had to do was work his way through the final corner, and he did that without any dramas in the world. So he will start from pole position later on this afternoon in race number 3 for our Duggan Family Hotels, Bathurst Sports Cars and Sedans here at Mount Panorama. So it's Shields, Lacey, Hearn, Gomersall and Donaldson winning the class for the sports cars. And Tracy coming across the line, as we mentioned, position number 13 in the end. So here's your official results. Comfortable one in the end for Shields, 4.1 seconds the margin between himself and Lacey. That was out to just over 10 seconds once that safety car was brought onto the racetrack.
Looking back for the first, Sven Burkhardt's got himself up to 11th. Warwick Morris just in behind me, and as you said, Blake Tracy in 13th. Looking for Indian Padiachi in position 18 there. Michael King in the Chassis Evo got to 21st position, just in front of Mark Tracy, who we've seen have a little bit of an incident yesterday. Charlie Curry in that Honda Supercharged car came in 23rd. Richard Gardner got himself up to 24th.
And a good job by Tyler Cheney as well, position number 25 from the back of the field after not starting yesterday. So that's a solid drive for him once they repaired that car from the contact that he had yesterday afternoon at Forest Elbow. So that was the story in the end. We had the safety car come out, but it was Brad Shields that got the job done. And we'll start from pole position for the third and final race coming up this afternoon. Coming up next, though, practice session number 5 for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour right here at Mount Panorama.
Race control, attention all teams. We are now regularly transmitting on RMC. Could you please reply via the SRO app that you're receiving this message? Also to all teams, there may be a slight delay to practice 5. We will confirm that. We are aiming to commence on schedule at 8:05, but there may be a possible delay during trackside recoveries.
Thank you, JT.
Race control to pit exit, comms check.
Loud and clear, thanks, JT.
Thank you. Race control to James Dell on RMC, comms check.
I have you loud and clear, thank you.
Thank you. Race control to Coxie on RMC, comms check.
Loud and clear, thanks, JT.
Thank you. Race control, attention all teams. Attention all teams. Practice 5 will commence 8:07. 8:07.
Confirming practice 5 will commence at 8:07.
Race control to pit exit 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Good morning. Welcome to Mount Panorama Bathurst as we roll into Saturday at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour. The world has come to Mount Panorama for Australia's International Enduro. And what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than being on the mountain for a massive day as we build up at the end of the day to the Pirelli pole battle, and we'll decide at the end of a massive day of on-track action the Alan Simonson Pole Award. Welcome wherever you might be watching around the world here at the circuit on the live stream. We've got a great day of action for you. This is the location, Mount Panorama Bathurst. We're about 3 hours inland from Sydney in New South Wales. We're in the central west, and it's a beautiful part of the world, and it's a beautiful racetrack too. 6.213 Ks, massive elevation change, fast, narrow, perilous at times across the top. And already this weekend, some people have been claimed by the mountain. And that long run down Conrod Straight brings you into the chase. And then the final of the 23 corners is Murray's past the National Motor Racing Museum. And they'll do it more than 300 times on Sunday. Do it correctly in a GT3 car at full noise. Potentially 2 minutes flat could be a benchmark for one of these cars. Very few things go quicker than a GT3 car at Mount Panorama. A fascinating day of action on the mountain yesterday across 4 practice sessions. Today's program has 2 one-hour sessions. We then roll into 2 parts of qualifying with the top and bottom halves of the field. We work our way down to 10 cars in the Pirelli pole battle later on this afternoon to decide the winner of the Alan Simonson Pole Award. And then tomorrow at 5:45 a.m, the field will charge towards turn 1 for race start. Richard Craill, John Hondoff, Garth Tander with you in the commentary box. Shay Adam in pit lane in this session. Gentlemen, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. If you choose to celebrate, I can't think of a better place to be on the 14th of February. I'm very much looking forward to what's going to play out today.
Morning, Rich. Morning, everyone. Did you bring the mountain a rose this morning, Richard? Because we know how much you love this place and this race in particular.
I bought a coffee.
You bought the mountain a coffee?
I did buy the mountain coffee.
Okay.
Well, that's sort of impromptu because I spilled some of mine.
That's the start of a Valentine's thing, I guess. Maybe by the end of the day, we'll talk you up to a rose.
We've been together 19 years, Garth, so, you know.
Oh, so the novelty's worn off.
St. Valentine's Day, celebrating unrequited love. I think we don't have to worry about Richard's love for this place. It's very much quited.
I feel like it goes both ways as well.
I think the mountain loves you.
I think it does. I think it does.
Absolutely right. What's the story of the weekend so far? I hear you asking where you are around the world. Well, the answer is the story hasn't really begun to develop. We've had an issue for one of the GT4 cars. Richard alluded to that yesterday with quite a big hit up on the top of the mountain. 2 cars coming together, Garth. Bit untidy and potentially unnecessary with 5.5 minutes to go in the final session of yesterday.
Yeah, I guess that's the sad thing for both cars and the GT4 Aston, that they weren't able to repair overnight for Earl Bamber Motorsport, so that car's been withdrawn. There's 5 minutes left in the day's running, effectively your last or second last lap of the day, and contact, and it was just one of those things where I don't know that the Aston saw the Porsche coming. Porsche was well up the inside. It is a 50-50 passing manoeuvre that we will see a lot of passing there. Fast cars passing slow cars down into the grate at Reed Park, but the Astons didn't see the Porsche coming, it looked to me, and contact and sent the Aston into the wall, so disappointing for them. So a real shame that one of our competitors are out for the weekend.
Yesterday was a story as well of sort of a guide at how close this field is going to be. 19 cars covered by exactly 1 second, which was remarkable. The interesting thing about that was it was only 5 of the GT3 brands in that top 19 cars within a second. And yesterday was a day where a lot of people kept their powder very, very dry. There was a lot of race prep focus yesterday, a lot of tuning cars for longer runs and managing things in terms of pace. We didn't get a real indication of what the outright pace from these various teams, cars and drivers is going to be. Irrespective of that, quickest yesterday was the car that won the race last year, the number 32 BMW M4 GT3 in Evo spec, upgraded spec this year for Team WRT. It was Kelvin van der Linde who did the time at 2:03.86. was the quickest time. Jamek Racing's Audi R8 LMS was second, thanks to the efforts of Chris Haase with a 203.89. And then Earl Bamber Motorsport's Porsche 911 GT3R was next. Scott Taylor Motorsport, the All-Aussie Adventures car, was in fourth place with Waters, Mostert and Randall at a 4-1. And rounding out the top 5 was Mercedes AMG Team GMR. Maro Engel, Mick Grenier and Maxime Martin. It was Maro in the car at the end of the day of that third practice session that did the time to put them 5th after a challenging start to their day early on. So there were 4 different brands in the top 4. It was all very close. It was all very competitive. And we have absolutely no idea who is going to be the quickest.
No, we certainly do not, because to your point, a lot of the manufacturers didn't show their hand at all. I don't think Ferrari has shown their hand, Corvette have not shown their hand, Ford have not shown their hand. Yesterday, the only thing that you can take out of it is the BMWs look like they can pick up from where they left off last year. It's just whether anyone else can go with them, and we'll find that out over the course of today, the next 2 one-hour practice sessions. What I have seen is a lot of cars roading tyres, coming out or going out, doing one very gentle lap and coming back into pit lane, preparing their tyres for tomorrow's race. So I've seen a lot of that already this morning. But let's head to Shay down in pit lane.
Good morning, gentlemen. You touched on the fact that the Team New Zealand car had not been repaired overnight. There was some discussion about trying to find another GT4 car to enter into the race so that the 3 drivers and the crews could see their dreams come to fruition of running in the 12-hour. Well, the car, it's still damaged, it's covered, and the more telling thing, there is a lack of personnel here whatsoever on this half of the garage at the very least. This is one of 2 garages on the pit lane that was being split this weekend, so it does mean a slight advantage for the KTM team. Now they get a bit more working space in their garage, but it is weekend over for Team New Zealand.
This takes us down to 34 cars now in the field, and as Garth and John touched on at the start of this session, remarkable 4 practice sessions yesterday, and we went all the way through with just over 5 minutes remaining in practice number 4 before we had a red flag stoppage, and it ultimately called that session short. So massive disappointment for Graham Dowsett and his team that worked very hard to put this program together. We're hopeful of a good result. It was my understanding as well that that car had planned to stay in Australia for a couple of months as well, and perhaps take in some local GT4 racing. They'll take that car back to Earl Bamber Motorsport and assess its damage, and hopefully we can see it on the racetrack again this season.
4-way flashes going on one of the AMGs there. Oy. Not sure he's looking in the mirrors either, as one of his German Mark stablemates comes through down there at the Scuderia Auto Art Chase, coming into the pit lane. For those who don't hear the word roading tyres all that often outside of Australia, scrubbing tyres in.
Yes.
Yeah. But I like roading. I've adopted that
yeah,
word,
because when you say scrubbing, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday in practice, when you scrub a tyre, so you see that a lot in supercars, that's the tyre warming technique in supercars, where you scrub or shudder the tyre, so the driver will actually go well beyond the slip angle of the tyre. So put a heap of steering lock into the car and slide the front tyre. Effectively shudder it.
Karting.
Yes, correct. Because you have no weight in a go-kart to do that. But you don't do that with this Pirelli tyre. You very gently load the tyres without stressing the tyre, I think is probably the best description. So when you say you're scrubbing a tyre, that to me inherently means that you're stressing the tyre a little bit.
Sounds a bit more violent.
Yes, but when you're roading the tyre, you are very gently just taking the sheen off the surface. And I saw one of the teams, I think it was the Porsche team, the Earl Bamber Motorsport team, when they took a set of tyres off that they had roaded, it still had the sticker on it. So that's how gently they're roading it. And I think this is a new Pirelli compound tyre for this race. And I think the European teams and the Asian teams that have run this tyre in the past got a small advantage, because this is the most roading. We saw a few teams do it yesterday and a lot of teams doing it this morning, and I don't recall seeing this much of that going on in preparation in practice.
And don't forget the pro teams, guys, have only had the 2 40-minute sessions, so they've only had half of the running of anybody that has a bronze driver in there. So they were getting a bit more data yesterday. So they've had 80 minutes. And this is their day today to confirm, Garth, I presume, all of the plans that they made yesterday, maybe some tweaking of setup today still, do you think?
Oh yes, this is confirmation of setup changes overnight.
Yeah.
So certainly yesterday, I would imagine there would have been big swings at the setup, but not perfecting the car, not making the subtle little nice changes that you'll make over the course of the next 2 hours heading into qualifying. Whereas yesterday it would have been much bigger changes, much more course changes, like a big spring change or a big aero balance change or a significant ride height change. And just to understand the influence that has on the car, and then you decide overnight, did that work? Is that the direction we need to go? You choose yes, no, and then that's what they have in the cars right now is basically the wholesale setup they'll have in the car, and then they'll fine-tune it over the next hour and a half or 2 hours that we have ahead of qualifying. If you didn't get it right, you need to throw the kitchen sink at it between practice 5 and practice 6 and hope that you get it somewhere close.
And there were teams that ran their pro car in the bronze session because they have a bronze-ranked driver in the FIA's driver ranking system that learned more than some of the others, especially if you've got a really good bronze like a Kenny Habul or a Brad Schumacher. I spoke to Troy Russell at Team NPC this morning and said, be pretty happy you got those extra laps with Brad in the car, and he just smiled and wandered off into the distance. So everyone playing their cards close to the chest.
Well, what those sessions do is they allow the bronze to get up to speed with no pressure.
Correct.
But then on the flip side, in the open sessions, the other two 40-minute sessions where the pro drivers can drive the car, they solely concentrate on car setup.
Yep.
So they're not concentrating on getting their bronze up to driver because they've got the time to allow that to happen in the other sessions. That's where the big advantage is. It's not so much the setup work the bronze driver does, it's just allowing them with no pressure to get up to speed at their own pace.
And be comfortable over the course of the race, especially tomorrow. Dorian Boccolacci, we were just watching, is on a good lap for high-class racing in the Porsche. Dorian's got a little bit of Aussie experience in his past. He popped up at the opening round of GT World Challenge Australia in a Porsche with Shane Smollen at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit last year, another epic Aussie racetrack, and whacked the thing on pole position on his Aussie debut. One of the many fantastic one-make Porsche races. Earlier, Tony D'Alberto went quickest in the Wall Racing Lamborghini. They had a really solid day yesterday across the board with all four drivers. Very happy with their where they're at in the Lambo Huracan. Boccolacci's just gone quickest at a 2:05.3, so a solid lap from them. The other thing that's worth touching on is how today plays out, because today is a day where the intensity builds almost with every lap. This session is what's defined as a hot session, which means the teams are permitted to refuel their cars in pit lane in a full race simulation. And in the equivalent session 12 months ago, what's happening down here at Scott Taylor Motorsport, in this session 12 months ago, a lot of teams ran all three drivers in their car in this 1 hour practice session. So they go out, they do some laps, they might road a tyre, but then they'll do some laps, they'll pit, they'll put their next driver in, do some laps, pit, put their next driver in, run through the full systems that you're going to have to get right on Sunday. Practice 6 is hugely important today, because what that does is set the makeup of qualifying. Now, qualifying is top 50% and bottom 50%. And this year, you want to be in that top 50%. That's going to give you the best advantage to get into the Pirelli pole battle. Here's Dorian Boccolacci.
Oh, now that, wow. That was all a bit tight down at the final corner at Mary's.
Around the outside of Theo Konduras in the Superbarn Tigani car. The other interesting one, just going back to that pit stop practice thing, the stewards have issued a warning to car 222 for their pit lane speed being 41 kilometres an hour. Now, the pit lane speed limit is 40. In practice, you just get a warning about it. In the race, it will be a penalty for pit lane speeding. And in a field this close and this competitive, it could be make or break for your day on Sunday.
It is a long run down pit roads, and penalties hurt. I mean, it's awful, isn't it, when you make a mistake in the pit lane, in particular, Garth. It can take you half a stint to gain a couple of seconds on these cars. That's the nature of these races. And then all of a sudden you cop a penalty, you're back down the pit road, and you've lost half a minute, maybe more.
Yeah, even if your penalty is a 5-second addition to your pit lane time or a 10-second addition to your pit lane time, as opposed to a drive-through penalty. So the penalty itself, the time penalty, you can fight back from to a degree if it happens in the first half of a 12-hour race. But what the big penalty is the lack of track position and losing the track position. So if you're in the top 4 cars and you cop a pit lane penalty, even a 5-second hold in your pit stop, you lose so much track position, drop you down to 15th, 16th, and the cars are so competitive, so tight, like you were talking about their lap time, that you can't just blaze your way back up to the top 5 again. So you've got to strategize your way back in the game. And that makes it really challenging.
The Ferrari was one of the quickest cars last year, and yet with Will Brown behind the wheel, it spent 45 minutes of its life bottled up behind a Porsche and could not get past. This is a track position race, and it will be again this year. To Elf Oil pit lane, here's Shay Adam.
Another big part of this race is trying to read in between the lines of the rule book, and that's exactly what some of the teams have done. Tire warmers are banned. Tire warming, completely different story, and that's what we've got going on right now behind the Brad Schumacher-driven Audi garage. They've got brand new sticker tires ready to go on for Will Brown when he gets aboard the car in a few minutes. But right now, they're getting warmed by the sun, and they're not the only team doing this. If you look further up the pit lane, we've got even more tires. Tagani Motorsport have several sets sitting out in the sunshine. Everybody is realizing that it's not exactly warm. It's not a typical summer day in Australia. What can we do? I know, UV.
In the FIA WEC, same regulation. And to make things even across a pit lane in that World Championship, there are marked places in the pit lane where you can put your tyres so that nobody gets an advantage from being out in the sun where half of the pit lane's in the shade. But that's smart thinking though, isn't it?
Well, for those supercars followers that are watching this session, we'll say, hang on a minute, can't do that in supercars because they've changed the rule.
Yeah.
They did change the rule last year because we used to see that a lot in supercars practice sessions and ahead of qualifying in particular, that tyres would be sunbaking for sure, and it's worth 10, 15 degrees sometimes. Yeah. So your start temperature is much more closer to the operating window than you need. So they've made a rule you're not allowed to. You actually have to have them in the shade, and it's interesting you hear WEC. I wouldn't mind betting. If I was a betting man, Rich.
Yes.
Sometime in the near future in our 12-hour life, those tyres will not need to worry about sun cream.
We had Augusto Farfus bounce to the top of the times a little while ago. In the time that Shea was speaking, he went to the top just before we went to Shea. He's now down in 7th position as the times are beginning to improve, and we're getting Rich down again, knocking on the door of the 204 flat now for James Golding, who's taking the top spot in his Audi.
Cam Waters was quickest in this equivalent session 12 months ago with a 3.8, 203.8. So the pace did start to build. Having said that, Friday last year was much quicker than it was yesterday. They were already into the 2. So I wonder if there might be a little bit more energy in this session. Just on the whole UV thing, currently 16.5 degrees. So cool morning. Walking, it was a long sleeve kind of morning, walking into the track this morning. 25 degree top in this part of the world today is the forecast, but patchy cloud. So the sunshine on the track thing is going to be in and out over the course of the day, but it'll get to that 25 degrees about when we roll out for the Pirelli pole battle at about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, one thing I did notice at the start of this session, which started at 8:07 local time, was how long the tyre warm-up was taking.
Yep.
So that's really critical information for this time tomorrow, because the weather forecast is very similar conditions going into the 12-hour tomorrow. So how quickly the tyres come on. So early in the day, you'll probably see a lot of teams double stinting tyres because you don't have that high track temperature. You're not exciting or cooking the surface, the tyre surface, early in the morning. So you can double stint the tyre, not only to get an extra set of tyres for later in the day, but to not have to go 3, 4, 5 laps of tyre warm-up at the start of the second stint. So that a lot of that information, even though cars were, they were 4, 5, 6 seconds a lap off the pace for the first 3 laps, that's information the teams will use in their strategy briefing overnight going into tomorrow.
Chris Mace for Ford Mustang GT3. First time for the GT3 car here in the 12 hours. When this car was wasn't there a Ford came second, Krilsey, when this car was when this race was a bit more of a touring car race at one of the I think it's the only other time that the Ford brand has been in the class.
Well, Marcus Sikanovic's family team actually ran a production car spec. Wow, the Volante Rosso Aston Martin just had a little moment coming up to Salman Park there under the gum tree. Not sure if it was just diving out of the way of two-time winner Chris Meeks, who's on a push lap at the moment. Tico's across the top. That car's just gone to 6th place, by the way, the Mustang. James Golding, while all that's been going on, has gone quickest in the BRM Audi at a 204.0, which is a good benchmark. Jordan Pepper in the 32 car. The South African back having won here on his last start with Bentley in 2020. So technically a defending winner in his own right. And as Fjordback's behind the wheel of the high-class racing car is 3rd. Matt Campbell's jumped to 4th in the Absolute Racing Porsche, and I went and spoke to MC last night and said we are in a completely different place to where we were 12 months ago. They struggled massively with that car 12 months ago. This is a new chassis this weekend for Absolute Racing and the Porsche team.
just tracking Chris Mees down into the chase, and a 4.4 on the previous lap, a 2:04.4 for Chris Mees in the Ford Mustang. Half a second faster than what this car was able to achieve yesterday. So we did feel that because it was the Mustang's GT3 version, first time here at the mountain, that there would be a lot of data gathering, and then they'd be on the sim overnight. And they've certainly come back and they've found some lap speed with that car. So another 4.9 on that second push lap for me. So much closer to the top end of town for the Ford Mustang. And I expect over the course of the rest of this session and going into practice 6 that they'll get better and better.
There is another GT3 here, isn't there? Did I see one? Did I imagine it, or did I see one when I was leaving in the paddock last night?
No, it's parked up at the Mustang Corral at the top of the chase. Yeah. Yep, that will be Tony Quinn's car that Tony owns.
Yeah.
Elected to not run that this weekend and go to the Audi instead, which was a whole raft of things around that decision, but mainly user-friendliness and knowledge.
And operation.
And operationally as well.
Yeah.
The Audi is a very easy turnkey race car that everyone knows and has used for a long time here, whereas the Mustang is brand new. And the other element, Tony Quinn, who is a stakeholder in 888 Race Engineering. 888 have had a bid on recently, building a couple of new Mustangs for Supercars competition. So sitting out the GT3 side of things this year. Love to see them run a couple of Mustangs in this race in the future. And there's no doubt in my mind we will see more Ford Mustangs in the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. That was that decision. So yeah, the good folk up at the Mustang Corral. Murrow Engels about to see it here on driver's left on top of the hill there. He'll blaze past at 275 kilometres an hour, and there's a whole bunch of Mustangs parked up there, up on the hill all weekend. And the GT3 cars there, they're going to have a GT4 car and the Dark Horse R Mustang Cup car as well. So Ford with a massive activation. Here's Murrow, pole sitter of this race, fastest ever man in qualifying for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. A two-time Alan Simonson pole winner at this race, but yet to win outright. And over the weekend, we are going to be talking about the best yet to claim the Meguiar's 12 hour. And this guy certainly in the calculations, now making his 10th start at Bathurst in the 12 hour. Keep in mind, he's got experience in the Repco Bathurst 1000 as well. So he knows this place, he loves it, he gets it. He's like Jules Gounon in his appreciation for Mount Panorama and the mysticism and all the little quirks that this place has got. And watching GMR this weekend will be good fun because it's a very strong lineup. They had to work hard to get a time out of that car yesterday as well.
If you blinked, you would have missed them yesterday.
Yes.
We hardly saw them. They had issues in practice 1, a tyre go down, and I think a gearbox or drive issue, transaxle issue with that car in practice 1, and then it was right at the death, after the checkered flag, effectively, that they popped up to 3rd at the end of practice 3, just to get themselves a bit of a reference going into today. So probably not the Hollywood lap times that you'd expect from that car, but the experience that they have in their driving roster and the team will stand them in good stead going into qualifying later today.
Shay Adam, L4 pit lane.
You guys were talking about lap times, the Alan Simonson Trophy Award, and I thought, well, the best person to find is Lucas Howard, the defending pole winner here a year ago. Coming back to the mountain, did you feel a difference driving into the track? Maybe like, hey, I kind of know this place, it might like me.
Actually, I feel a lot different because last year was the first time for me here. It was very stressful. This year it's a lot more calm, and I can focus on other things than just not only focusing, not going in the wall. So this year I'm a bit more experienced, and we are good prepared, feeling confident. So let's see.
You've already been out this morning. How was the track conditions so early?
It's actually interesting because this year it's quite a bit cooler, especially in the morning. So it's tough to bring the tires in, and so it will be a different race, and will be very edgy the first couple of laps in the race.
Already done a brake change on your car. The guys brought the car in to do that this morning, thinking about long-term in the race and getting them bedded in.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, we are preparing for the race. The most important, everybody likes to go for the qualifying for pole positions, but we know in a 12-hour race, you need the race pace and you need to be at the end there.
Bringing in a new driver this year as well. As you mentioned, you're no longer the newbie, but how are you helping Ralph get up to speed in this car as well?
Yeah, Max and me basically giving him everything what we learned, but he's doing great. He got a lot of laps in, and I think he's already fine, so he knows what to do.
Well, let's see if maybe Mr. Poleman can make it 2 in a row.
Thanks, Shay. Just been doing my usual, gentlemen, with 25 minutes gone of this 1 hour session. 33 of 34 cars, and it's the Triple One Racing IRC that hasn't come out to do any lappery around the 3.86 miles of this legendary spot.
Miles? Kilometres, mate. 6.213.
I think, in fact, it's kilometres, but it's also miles.
6,213 metres.
It's the metric system.
We got rid of that in the 60s, didn't we?
Yeah. Sacrilege, John.
Here's Thomas Randall.
People who want to know that, golf.
Behind the wheel of 222 and goes quickest with the quickest time of the weekend today. 2:03.63 for the Tickford Racing Mustang driver who's in a Merc this weekend. And his sparring partner, Will Brown, goes second, just behind him too, in the 55 Jamek Racing Audi at a 3.8. So lap times starting to drop in this 5th practice session as we approach the halfway point. Good luck, Thomas Randall. This is a car, another car, with all 3 drivers more than capable of doing the lap time required to get them towards the front of the grid and be consistent over the distance. So that was the first place car, that's the second place car. Will Brown behind the wheel of the Audi.
Really interested, Garth, to see the AMG Thomas Randall there going up the mountain straight. How bumpy that is and how that car was riding the bumps.
Yeah, particularly in the Mercedes, how low they run the car and they bottom. So anytime we take an in-car shot aboard a Mercedes, you can hear it there. That's quite a commonplace. And again here on the exit of McPhillamy, you'll hear it. And then that curb there in qualifying, when they smash that curb, the noise that it makes. So yes, it feels like about 3 or 4 years ago, particularly the bumps going up Mount Straight, something happened. So whether it was whether it was really, really wet here one year in the off season, and all the bumps changed, and it was significantly worse. So there's a great shot of Thomas Randall. That's the Great. So you will hear us over the course of the weekend talking about the Great when they drop down into the Great. And you can just see here in the background, that's where the Great is, and that's exactly what you aim for as a race car driver. So if you're driving over the Great, you're doing a reasonable job. If you're driving behind the Great, you're on a big one in qualifying.
Yeah, if you can see the Great at your passenger window, you've had a very large one. Marvin
You've arrived with the rear.
Yes, Marvin Kirchhoff will tell you that. There it is. So that channels all the water down there and it drains out to the right of screen on the other side, literally down onto Mount Panorama. Amazing bit of road. And it's another bit of road that the compression there, even going around at 60 k's an hour, which is the posted legal speed limit at Mount Panorama for about 320 days of the year, it is pretty remarkable to experience.
Had a chat with some of our Ford visitors from the US who've come over to support the effort here, and they had a couple of laps around in some of the course vehicles yesterday and literally could not believe how tight and how big the drop-off is as well at Skyline as you come up and over the top, and what's to drivers left as you come down that, which is not very much at all. And wide-eyed, I think, is the right way to describe. Hello to Scott Bartlett, who's here in Australia, staying for a couple of weekends. The guys from Ford Motorsport in the US.
It's one of those places, isn't it, where your perspective changes so much. So when you walk up to the bottom of the mountain and you look up and go, well, it's a hill. Sure, it's a small mountain, perhaps. When you get to the top, you go, oh, yeah, no, this is definitely a mountain. It's a long way down to the city of Bathurst when you're up at Brock Skyline under the Expel Bridge at the top. At the top is Lucas Stoles, and he's going quickly on a personal best lap. He set the purple first sector of anybody. Alex Peroni in this car has just gone quickest at a 2:03.3. James Golding, having driven this car at the start of the session, and BRM are very happy with their 2 pros they've got behind the wheel. This is a class entry. They're in Pro-Am, so they've got 2 pro drivers in Alex Peroni, the Tasmanian, who was on the open wheel pathway to Formula 1 up in Formula 3 and then Indy Next as well for a time. He has been fast. Luke is about to go, he was about to go quickly, but he's bailed out of this lap with a whole bunch of traffic down towards Meguiar's corner at the bottom of Conrod Straight. But they're 2 AM drivers just finishing the point on car 268, Mark Rosser and Steve Brooks, both very experienced AMs. So they're very, very comfortable with that. And that is one team that are having a big swing at getting into the top 10. They would love to be in the Pirelli pole battle later on this afternoon.
I was about to say, guys, how about the Wall Lamborghini Huracan in that red and white colour with Tony D'Alberto behind the wheel, the number 93 car? How about that up in the top 6? He's just got quicker again. He's gone to 4th position. 2 cars in the 203s, a whole bunch of cars in fact, Tony's gone into the 203s now, so that's now 4 cars in the 203s and a whole bunch of cars in the 204s.
Unfortunately, down here in the Ferrari garage, things have just gone from bad to worse. The number 26 Arise GT Ferrari came into the garage, and part of the genius with this GT3 spec car is that Ferrari has designed a vehicle that is very easy to access the bits that you need to. They designed it at the same time as the 499P, so this car fundamentally is above its weight, if you will, as far as GT3 cars are concerned. They pulled the front end off, they pulled the back end off, they said they had sensor failures. Unfortunately, they've had to pull a belt off as well from underneath the middle of the car, and it looks as if the coolant has just decided to expel all of its innards and belongings from the front of the car. So I would not expect to see this Ferrari get back out in the remainder of this session. That being said, Daniel Serra still with his helmet on, waiting for the crew to tell him that he can get back into the car. It looks as if there is a bit of drama down here for this car though, and maybe it will only be one session for Davide Rigon to learn Mount Panorama, because he didn't get that much running yesterday.
That is absolutely disastrous news for those guys losing this time. Shea, they're talking about the prototype design philosophy, if you like, that's been put into the 296. The engine in the 499P, the prototype car, and the engine in the GT3 car, it's the same block actually. And Ferrari using a lot of its expertise, even from Formula One, within that engine, and it has been hugely successful, this car. So the modular design that Shea was talking about, the whole front clip comes off, the whole back clip comes off. In that history-making victory for Fricatelli at the Nürburgring, they had damage early on the under tray at the back, the diffuser, and they basically had it ready and did a standard pit stop when they came in. This is endurance racing. That is coolant that is sitting there, and that is an awful lot of coolant that is coming from a cracked pipe, it looks to be.
Yeah, it's something certainly at the front, isn't it? Because it scares you when they say it's a sensor failure, but then you see fluid coming out of it. So that, to me, they're going, oh, that's a sensor failure, it's not real, but then it's obviously blown a lot of water out of it, so it's gone over temperatures. Adam de Bore, looking on for our Australian viewers, will know, very successful driver-engineer relationship with Chaz Mostert, and he's been involved with that Arise Racing Ferrari program pretty much since its inception. And, has been here with MPC Audi as a race engineer in the past, so knows this race well, knows those cars well, but he knows how valuable losing this track time is, and how critical it is to have your drivers comfortable going to not only qualifying, but certainly the race as well.
Another practice pit stop going on down at the defending champion team, Valentino Rossi, car 46. Raffaele Marcello was behind the wheel of that car. Augusto Farfus has been moved across from the 32 that won last year. So the 2 winners that have come back out of last year's BMW squad have been spread across both cars now. So they've each got an opportunity to defend their Bathurst win. This is the car that's currently quickest in the session. Now, yesterday we saw a couple of feet between race car and wall. That's a bit more like it from a point of a push lap here at Mount Panorama on the run up to the Walter J. McPhillamy Park gates, which are on the right.
That was millimetre perfect for you. There you go, I've gone metric for you. Millimetre perfect.
Good. If you said thousandths of an inch, then that's qualifying spec.
Lucas Stolz has gone fourth quick, by the way, with a 203.68. And up the road is the 888 car. It's the GMR Mercedes AMG. Maxime Martin behind the wheel.
There's a guy. There's another guy who is... Oh, hang on. They've got the Austin Powers.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was going to drop that one too.
It has become
real.
Legendary, hasn't it?
Especially in a GT3 car, because they do not have great turning circle. And you can't, we see a lot, anytime a supercar heads up the escape road there, they'll do what they call a flick spin, old school Formula One flick spin, but you hard to do that in a GT3 car with traction control and big sticky tyres. It's actually, and they're quite long, so it's hard to turn it around in that area. So Maxime just invoking his best Austin powers.
Yeah, very good.
It's extremely narrow. Once you get past where the runoff road proper is,
there we go.
It goes back to being just a standard Shire road.
Off to his Saturday morning golf up the road there. Golf courses, if you head out that way, that's where the golf course is.
Good golf course on
Royal Bathurst, yeah.
I think our colleague Chad Nalen's played
I think he's there now.
Rounds there.
Yeah.
That is a good-looking car, that car. I like that sort of satin finish that has become quite popular in the last few years. Haven't had the best of the week so far, as Richard and Garth were chronicling earlier on. They will want Rich to get some meaningful laps and meaningful data in the bank here before we get to the really competitive part of this afternoon on this Super Saturday, setting the grid for tomorrow's 2026 Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours.
So there's a fair bit of energy in that middle part of the session. Well, we saw a lot of new tyres going on, so I dare say there was a few qualifying sims or just push laps to check the balance, but maybe not 110% qualifying pushes. And now the timing screen, you can follow that on the totem left of screen. A lot of yellow on the totem right now, so that's really not personal bests for the car. And so if you see a green dash, that's a personal best for the car. You see a purple dash pop up, that's a session best sector. So we'll refer to that more and more over the course of the weekend, particularly when we head into qualifying. So you can follow the timing screen very simplistically on your totem. But a lot of yellow. So when we start seeing a bit more green and the occasional purple, there's a lot of energy in the timing screen.
This is the Team KRC BMW M4. So 3 BMWs here for the first time in its M4 GT3 spec. And Tony Ruan, Maxime Oostin, the Dutchman, and Max Hesse, who is a young factory BMW driver. They have been very impressive across the board. All 3 of them have been very impressive. I like what this team have done so far in their approach in their first time to Mount Panorama. So organised are they? They're down in the Harris Park merchandise area, which is behind the spectator area. They've already got models of this year's car on sale for fans. So you don't have to wait 6 months to get your favourite car from the race. You can already go and buy it. So they are fully engaged with this. Interesting, they had the rear floor and the diffuser off that car.
Really impressed on how quickly they get on the BMW, how quickly the diffuser goes back on. So you were talking about the Ferrari and its modular style, and that's very, very quick. But even there, the BMW, the M4, if that was one of the older generation cars, that's a 5-minute job to get that done.
You hit the nail on the head there, Garth, because quite a lot of the Evos, as they've come through, Porsche did it, BMW have done it, and I think Ford have done it as well. They cut down the number of fastenings on the parts that you're likely to want to take off.
And the style of fastening that they use.
Correct.
So a lot more of those quick connect fastenings that you see like on the front and the rear of the Ferrari, which is an exceptional setup.
So sometimes it's not about making the car go faster, although seldom will a manufacturer make a car go slower. In fact, never in an Evo, but it's ease of operation. And you can only find those things out sometimes after a season of racing, and that's certainly what Ford have done with the Mustang. We haven't got the Evo here, but the teams that have been using it in IMSA in the early part of the 2026 season are already absolutely delighted. They've been feeding back to the manufacturer applies for the Evo, they make the change, and everybody's happy.
We've been answering some questions, I think, of the field in this session so far. So we saw earlier the Mustang go comfortably quicker than it's ever been this weekend at Mount Panorama. So that's a little tick. The Ferrari is still very much an unanswered question. The Corvette is much the same, but we're also getting a little answer from McLaren now for the first time as Optimum Motorsport comes into pit lane. Car 95, Marvin Kirchhofer behind the wheel, but they've just gone 14th at a 204.3, and that's the first time they've demonstrated a little bit of pace from this car, from the 720S Evo, which makes its debut here at Mount Panorama in this current spec this year. So just a little indicator that McLaren are fighting their way into the pace game this weekend. Down to Elfoyle pit lane, Shay.
Speaking of pace game, keep an eye on that number 55 Audi, because when I did the tire piece a few minutes ago, Christopher Haase walked out the back and said, I just wanted to make sure you weren't doing anything to my new sticker tires. Well, he had that set on the car. He went out, jumped up to, what was it, P2 or P3 at the time. Now, he's just come in, put those Pirellis back in the garage, and they look really good still, I have to say. I'm impressed with this tire wear. They gave him another set of sticker tires. So I know it's not Christopher's birthday, but he's definitely getting treated well today. But I'm just curious, are they roading this set of tires, or is Chris going again?
It's a good point, Shay, you make, because I'm surprised by the amount of new tyres going on the cars in this session.
Yeah.
Given that it's practice 6 that defines the top 50% and bottom 50%, so we'll see a lot more qualifying sims in practice 6. And they're just, the new tyre runs, whilst they feel fantastic and it's great, and the great conditions, nice and cool, it doesn't really matter right now.
Do you think there was an element of frugality with tyres yesterday?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Do you think they've gone in today and now they've got an understanding of what this tyre's like from a life point of view? They've gone, we're actually a bit more comfortable that we can use a little bit more today in the knowledge that we're going to be able to double or maybe even triple stint them.
No, but I've seen in the past. You need to be careful of the heat cycles and how many heat cycles you put in, because rubber, it's a thing. It's the more softer it is, it's when it's brand new and more malleable. As you heat it up, cool it down, heat it up, cool it down, it gets harder and it doesn't work as well. So heat cycles are a big thing, but it looks like Christopher Haase is not treating this tyre very gently. He's going to work. So he did an out lap, and now he's doing a preparation lap. So this is what we would call in Australia an 80% lap, where you sort of drive it quite quickly, but you don't, it's not going to set a lap time. So even when he started that lap, he was weaving. He'll weave all the way up Mountain Straight. And when he turns into turn 2, he'll keep the momentum up, but he won't shutter the tyre. He won't slide the front tyre.
Just a reference to the classes there, by the way. You can tell who's who in the zoo, in the battle, and the Corvettes, yeah, starting to have a little dip perhaps to see where they're going to be on pace. Is from on board.
I wish you could have seen God's face there.
Well, he turned in from the grass and he exited on the grass, so the only thing he could have done better there was turn in really early and get the grass behind the curb at the apex. So Nicky Katzberg just finding the limit of the track limits down there at turn 1.
It's one of the things I absolutely adore about this place is that across the top of the mountain are some of the most fearsome, challenging, dramatic corners in Australian motorsport, in global motorsport, and the two innocuous 90-degree left-handers at the bottom of the hill cause so much drama year on year on year.
Yeah, well, what you tend to do is you let your guard down a little bit because, well, I survived across the top and that's just nothing. There's just 2 second-gear 90-degree corners at the bottom. So you'll have a much bigger dip because what could go wrong? And Nicky Katzberg pointing case. We saw Maxime Martin. I dare say we didn't see why Maxime ended up the escape road, but I have no doubt that he turned in from the grass at turn 1. And we see that. It surprises me, particularly the international drivers that live in left-hand drive cars, actually turning in from the grass at turn 1 and losing the rear. We saw that.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, and it actually, like, I'm so critical of it when I was driving a left-hand drive car here because you don't do it as often. Your muscle memory is right-hand drive. So your car positioning is all about the right-hand drive. But it still surprises me that guys with experience like Nicky Katzberg, who live in left-hand drive cars, still get caught out by that.
So 16 minutes to go, 16 and a half. 16 and 25 seconds, actually, for the pedants among you, if you're counting it down at the moment, wherever you are around the world. Good morning, as it is on a Saturday morning, slightly overcast, a little bit of cloud cover coming up from the south here. Back in Friday evening, back in the UK.
You're talking, Rich, about the frugality of the tyre. And if you just look at the Dunlop or the Pirelli tyre that's about to go on the Grove Racing Penrite Mercedes, see how dull the yellow is?
Yeah.
That's old tyre.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's done some work.
I was out in that garage yesterday and they did not spend a lot of tyres at all yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly 1 set is what they spent yesterday.
Oh, really?
So you can see the tyre that's going on the car now that as the team push it back out of the garage, it's very dull yellow. And that's for those of you that are playing along at home, that's a really good way of just if you catch the sidewalls to pick up if a car's on a good tyre or not.
Kai Allen jumped out of that car and was giving a debrief to the incoming driver. That car currently sits in 8th position at the moment. This team looking for a little bit of Bathurst history, having won the big race here in October with their Ford Mustang in quite dramatic circumstances. I just wanted to point out another driver that has done a spectacular job is the car that's second in Pro-Am. So it's a Pro-Am car leading the leaderboard. Mark Ross is behind the wheel, but that was a lap time that was done by Alex Peroni. The car that's second in that class, and you can tell it by the green colour on number 45. Now they're in 15th position. Now behind the wheel right now is Dylan O'Keefe, who's the reigning Carrera Cup Australia champion. The guy who did that lap time at 2:04.2 was Brett Hobson, who just pitted, did the lap time, pitted. So Brett Hobson's gone within 0.8 of a second of Chris Haase, of Thomas Randall, of Lucas Doles, of some of the best GT drivers in the world. That is a very, very fast lap time. That is a very, very fast Mercedes AMG this weekend.
What we did see yesterday, although the top end of town weren't particularly fast or as fast as we expected, a lot of our bronze and AM drivers were doing PBs.
Yes.
Kenny Habul, Grant Denyer mentioned it, Brett Hobson now. And I dare say there's a whole raft of others that have set their personal best lap time ever in a GT3 car here at Bathurst, and they did that either yesterday or this morning. But that's what's condensing the field, because the top end of town are just holding back a little bit, and they're certainly going to go faster than the 3.3 when it really matters. But the bronze and the AMs are much closer to the game at the moment right now, and that's a real feather in their cap.
Well, and that, John, is the difference between this field to the last couple of years.
Yes.
The depth is extraordinary right down for 30 cars.
Yeah, which makes it so difficult for us to give any kind of direction about what's going to happen. If you're just joining us for the first time and you're watching on that number 45 car, in the early running, you might have expected that to be running in the silver class. That's actually changed classes. To your point about the colours on the car, Rich, that's got the green for the Pro-Am on that. That car was, I think, originally on the early entry listed, was listed as a silver car.
It was, yeah. They made the decision from it was from a sport standpoint. They were like, no, there's only 2 cars in the silver class. We're going to go and play in Pro-Am, where there's 6.
Good for them.
Try and beat them, which is right now they're putting a pretty good show of it. Just on silver class, by the way, I'm delighted to tell you that Valente Rosso's Mercedes AMG has completed 18 laps in this session. And why is that a surprise? Well, yesterday they completed 1, and that was it. They had a shocking day in that car. So they have been able to run today. Bailey Hall shown behind the wheel at the moment, just gaining laps, gaining information. They're in 26th position at the moment with the young Queenslander behind the wheel at a 2:06.5. So finally, that McLaren is playing ball for the Sydney-based team.
I had a long chat with Burley out in Malaysia at the back end of last year. He was out there to do the 12-hour race. That is a young man with a future. Talked to him yesterday as well, and he's getting a few headlines lately. Here's young Burley Hall.
Chris Haase
on the front straight, so close to a big accident.
And he just did a 2:03.44 and missed out in the top spot by 0.09 of a second.
I know where those 900s are.
Yep.
So the reason we found Christopher Haase, because we saw him doing that warm-up lap, we saw him doing that prep lap, and he was on a big push lap here. He had the fastest middle sector of anyone across the top of the mountain, and as he exited the last corner, the last 100 metres of the lap, he came across Adrian Dietz in the Wall Racing Lamborghini and just had to jink to the left to get around him. We actually saw last year David Russell collect the back of that Dietz Lamborghini across the top, so it was nearly history repeating in practice 5 for that car. But Haase's on a good one here. Had a good chat with him yesterday, and he's in great form. He's got a big racing program lined up for this year in customer Audis, doing a lot of the Nürburgring racing, and that's a big, they're concentrating heavily on that, on the Nürburgring 24.
He is an awesome race car driver. He's just so good to watch, and you're never left wondering.
And when he's driving the car, he's a completely different animal to the person in the car. So softly spoken, very professional. Like the first year he came to Bathurst and we shared the car, he came with a briefcase. I said, Haase, you can't do that in Australia, brother. so he's the archetypal German professional race car driver, but put a helmet on him and he's an animal. And it's fantastic. He's a fantastic teammate.
And let's just talk about Audi, because there's been a lot of chat about Audi and its sports car program. Obviously, they've been running in Formula 1 for the first time as Audi at Bahrain the last couple of days. And despite the fact that they have in some respects, you'd say they'd wound down their customer programme. Audi R8s, which are not in their first flush of youth, Garth, are still competitive.
2016, that car rolled out.
Yes, exactly.
Over here for the first time.
That's the A4.
2016,
you know.
but it's base car, if you like.
And they're still getting results.
Yeah. So that's the great thing about GT3 racing is you can Evo your car, you can put updates on it, you can change the intake. I know with the Audi, a big change in the past was the intake runners, the way that the engine performed, because it was very much a top-end engine. It didn't have the bottom-end torque, which really hurt it here at Mount Panorama. So you can re-homologate your car over its life, and it's 10 years old now, that base car. And it was a spaceship when it first turned up in 2016. But now, as it always is, you stand still in motorsport, and the technology just continues to evolve and evolve. And we talked about the Ferrari and its modular design, and that thing is, and the BMW M4, those things are serious bits of kit.
Well, Troy Russell, who runs Team NPC, is at pains to say that the R8 is homologated to 2031.
Yep.
So it's eligible to run in GT3 until then. And that for balance of performance adjustments, there's inbuilt potential in that car. You've done a 59 round here in an Audi R8. So you take some restrictions out and it can go quickly. So they're at pains to say that that car can go quicker if it needs to, and if they need to make sure it keeps up the pace with the other GT3 cars. Speaking of keeping up the pace, Brock Feeney is behind the wheel of this Ford Mustang, and 2 laps ago, he's had some traffic recently. 2 laps ago, 2-minute 3.78, and punched that car right inside the top 10. So the Mustang starting to show its potential, and Brock Feeney, as he always seems to do in a GT3 car at this place, is going very, very quickly in it. To Elfoil Pit Lane and Shay.
We heard yesterday from Kelvin van der Linde just how important it is to know how your car is going to be during the race. Single lap pace is not what it is all about, especially for Team WRT. Well, we've just seen that in the 32 BMW with Kelvin van der Linde. Came into the pit lane, no work done on the car. The only thing that happened, they removed the data stick. Now, what that is a little bit that goes in right here. They can plug it into the computer and get access to actual telemetry beyond what they get sent back from the car while it's out on the racetrack. They took 2 pieces of information from the car. One was the actual data stick. One was effectively a micro USB. Plugged it into the computer, went through all the information they had, decided they wanted to bring the car back in and swap out the new data stick that they had just put in the car. So the mechanic over my shoulder here has the data stick that came out after doing 1 lap. This allows them to see in real time if any of the changes that they're making that potentially they don't want the rest of the world to know about, so they don't transmit over the airwaves, are making the big difference that they need for that little bit of extra speed. This is the team that got a 1-2 in the race last year. You think they don't know what they're doing? Guess again.
Well said, Shay. Nicely explained about the operations of these race teams. What I love about Team WRT is that they've carpeted their garages.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Absolutely beautiful awesome, when you walk in. Soft floors, lovely. Looking after their mechanics for 12 hours worth of work on Sunday. As the unbelievably liveried Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes comes in with its initial D Drift anime livery, more than 400 pieces of vinyl went into piecing that livery together.
Love that style.
Beautifully done. The other point I wanted to make is that there are, top 10 are now covered by 1 second. The next 9 cars are covered by 0.17 of a second.
So you're telling me there's a queue to get into the top 10 right now?
To get into the top 10 right now.
I reckon that queue's going to get longer in practice 6.
So just to remind you, practice 6 will sort of set the split for qualifying. We start with the bottom 50% cars from practice 6 in qualifying 1. Then it's the fastest 17 cars will roll in qualifying 2. The 10 quickest cars from those 2 sessions will then battle it out for the Alan Simonson Pole Award in the Pirelli Pole Battle 15 minutes later on this afternoon.
Peak out coming down to the final corner. You can see Jaden Ojeda just backing up to open up a push lap late in the session. Just over 5.5 minutes left in practice 5. And I think it was the team car, the Tagani Motorsport car, coming at them. I think at the 47, they were on a push lap as well. So you can see what the drivers are trying to do is create a gap. And we see that a lot in Formula 1. How frustrating is that when you watch a Formula 1 qualifying session?
Yeah.
But they're doing it live on track. And it gets a little bit sketchy when they start to do that. Cars coming out of the chase, finishing a lap. We saw it with Christopher Haase earlier. So that's something to keep an eye on in practice 6 in particular, when people are starting to get a little bit anxious to make sure they make that top 50%.
Well, it was fine last year with 22 cars. With 34 this year, it's a whole lot more challenging. Yep. So that is going to be a story in qualifying too. There will be complaining. I have no doubt there'll be complaining that people got
the car
bogged.
that I pity most in practice 6 is the lone GT4 car now.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to spend the majority of the back half of that session. I mean, almost not worth going out.
Yeah,
because you don't, because you're only more likely to get run over with people trying to have a go to get in, doing the hero lap. So they don't have to worry. They're not going to get in the top 50% in qualifying. And the big risk is actually getting damage from someone else getting past them.
Jaden or Jada in the AMG at the top of the mountain, putting the left rear Pirelli in the dirt over that curb. His lap is absolutely mullet at this point.
No, he might get away with this, John, because the Craft Bamboo car got out of the way, and if he can tow past the Ferrari, so he's getting a lovely tow here right now. So whether he can get past this Ferrari here, he's looking, not going to happen. So that's it, lap gone. So we're going to see a lot of that in practice. This is exactly what we will see in practice 6.
He was on the ragged edge at the top. We talk about hearing those AMGs scraping the ground.
Now the Ferrari gets out of the way. And that's at the drive, you're like, seriously, dude, 300 metres earlier you could have done that. And we could have both been friends. But now I don't like you.
For those playing at home, just the level of frustration that our now retired race car driver had. Chucked the pen down in the commentary. The Teddies were out of the pram and he's not behind the wheel.
The koalas were out of the pram.
But it's like just situational awareness, please. Jada's wearing out the flasher button on the steering wheel coming down Conrod.
You had all the way down.
You had that whole way to get out of the way, and you do it after you hold me up.
Yeah.
Don't think that Garth Tander is not passionate about how this plays out, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine being behind the wheel. That was the Volante Rosso.
Pit exit, 3 minutes.
That was the voice of race director James Taylor, who will steer the ship once again from Motorsport Australia Race Control upstairs from where we are here in the pit building. Craig Baird, the driver standards advisor, and had the conversation with all of the drivers in the drivers briefing on Thursday afternoon, just setting the rules of engagement and how they're going to police the racing on Sunday and what their expectations are from the drivers and how they manage the race.
Been talking all week, haven't we, gentlemen, about the size of the crowd here and how early people turned up. Friday evening in Europe, Friday evening motorsport in Europe is going down an absolute storm. Hashtag B12HR. Radio Show Limited Collective are all tuning in. Also on the East Coast of the States, it's further back in Friday. There, of course, RSL_studio, the usual place to put your thoughts in front of us at Bathurst 12HR as well. Join the conversation, shape the conversation as well. We'd like to hear your thoughts on what you're seeing here for the 2026 Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hours.
Just keeping an eye on our mate here, John, because there was another car about to be balked, and I was worried that there might be another.
I was moving towards his phone just to make sure the phone wasn't getting.
Put my phone down so I can't throw it, but I was going to throw my pen at the screen because Cam Waters was on a mega lap, and he too found one of his Mercedes stablemates in the chase and had to dive up the inside.
Good lap though, 2:03.2 goes second, 0.2 of a second behind Will Brown's benchmark in the 55 Audi, Chris Haas's benchmark, I should say, in the 55 Audi earlier on in this session with 1:20 to go.
10 AMG GT3s in the race, and they're all pitted together towards pit out, not right up to the end of pit lane. There's 2 garages beyond that, and that hasn't happened, teammate. This is the Garth. We're gonna. Honestly, I'm rubbing his shoulders now because Garth is getting very, very frustrated.
I am going to go down and buy a 10-pack of coffees for all the drivers that have been held up in this one. Michael Granier there did his best to just miss the apex at the chase at the elbow because the McLaren was, I'm not sure where it was looking, but it wasn't looking in the rear vision mirrors. And this is, I mean, we're speaking a little bit in jest right now, but this is going to be the tale of woe in practice 6 for some cars that don't make it into the top 50%. And then that's really critical because if you're in the bottom 50%, you are with cars that are going to be doing that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
And you might miss the lap that you need to get yourself into the Pirelli pole battle.
It's compounding interest over the course of the session. So you 100% want to be in qualifying too. a car that I think might be in qualifying too with any one of their drivers is car number 100, which is the Grove Racing Penrite.
Pit exit in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Checkered flag, close pit exit, please.
So the session comes to a close. Penrite Racing, Brenton Grove. We were talking about drivers doing their best ever laps of Bathurst. Brenton Grove has just done a 2:03.54 behind the wheel of the Penrite Racing Mercedes AMG for 5th outright.
Let's put up the invoice number for that one, because there's a fair bit of driver coaching going on yesterday. So,
right.
Good to see the boss is listening.
Okay.
He's super fast. He is.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is.
And he's
to the
relishing
point,
the challenge,
I
GT.
spend most of my time slowing him down than speeding him up, because he is super fast and super brave across the top.
Relishing the challenge of being in the top class in the Pro.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
loving it.
Yep. And it's a good challenge for Brenton that I'm going to be as fast as Kai Allen and Will Davison. But that is a good, and we remember this car, we spoke about this car, the condition of the sidewall of the tyres, and they were very dull yellow tyres. They weren't the shiny, bright yellow Pirelli insignia on the sidewall. So that's not a new tyre run. So they'll be very happy with the speed. They weren't very happy with the car yesterday. Went the wrong direction with setup, and it was a big swing from practice 1 to practice 3 for that car. So they now put a setup in it, and now we'll continue to fine-tune it over the course of this session and the next.
So much of top-level sport, whether it's motor racing, stick and ball sport, is about what's in your head. It's about, you know, your confidence level. That's a great confidence booster for Brendan and for the team.
Yeah, he doesn't need to drive again now. In reality, he can park up going, I've done my best lap. I'm obviously happy with the car. Let the other guys get the car ready for qualifying.
Well, speaking of doing a best lap, Christopher Haase, you did manage to pull out a pretty good lap with those new Pirellis. Was that the best that the 55 Audi has in store, though?
Well, yeah, first of all, it has been the tires which you earlier had a check on it. So basically, the car felt good, I have to say. Obviously, we tried to make a little bit of a quali run feeling for later on, and yeah, car worked well. We did a lot to fine-tune the car from yesterday. We were able to switch on the tires just okay, and you need a clean lap here. I mean, getting a clean lap was so far not easy, but I had one clean lap and it worked out. But this means nothing yet. The job is coming, basically the big job is coming tomorrow.
Well, your last trip here did result in a podium. You love this race so much. Why do you keep coming back?
Well, look, this race is so unique because of the atmosphere and the track, what it is. And it comes for me the closest to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And as I'm from Germany, you know, we are locals there, so we love the Nordschleife. And this one is a mix between Macau and Nordschleife. It's something what you have to do in your life, and it's always great to be here.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Guys, he's a definite shout for one of the best drivers yet to win this great race.
High praise indeed for Mount Panorama from one of the very best. You're right, Shay. Thank you very much down in Alfoil Pit Lane. That's the order. It was Will Brown in the end who actually improved on Haase's lap time and did a 3:0 for the quickest time of the weekend to top practice number 5 in front of the 222 Mercedes AMG. Jules Gounon at the end jumped up to 3rd place for 75 Express and Kenny Habul's team. The BRM Audi was on top early and very, very fast. Great lap Brenton Grove at the end to go P5. The Tsunami Porsche was quick too, with Babini behind the wheel, Van der Linde in the BMW, Brock Feeney, Ford Mustang, Lamborghini inside the top 10 and Augusto Farfus. But check the margins on the right-hand side of the screen. Just 1.6 seconds down to 23rd position. And that is a car with Brendan Leach or Scott Andrews behind the wheel that could also conceivably make their way into the top 10. That is a sign of things to come. The pace has ramped up on Saturday at Mount Panorama. Audi on top after practice number 5. Still a massive day. Practice number 6 is a little more than 1 hour away. A break from the mountain. Much more coming your way next.
Ferrari Challenge Australasia returns to Mount Panorama for a second year to start their 2026 championship. A brilliant, fantastic freeway fight for the lead yesterday sets up for what's going to be a fascinating race later on this afternoon. First though, another 30-minute qualifying session to set the grid for race number 2. 14 drivers here this weekend to start their 2026 championship that will also visit places like Phillip Island, the Bend, Queensland Raceway and Sydney Motorsport Park as well. But first up, the challenge of Mount Panorama awaits. So very good morning to you as we get set for qualifying session number 2 here this morning. Brian van der Wacker alongside Renato Liberto. Yesterday was brilliant. Thoroughly looking forward to this afternoon, and a very good morning to you once again, Ren.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I mean, amazing day yesterday. It was a big day for our drivers on track with 4 sessions, culminating in an awesome race, probably the best race we've seen over the first sort of season and a bit of Ferrari Challenge. So, you know, for this today, qualifying in another race gives everyone a chance to reset.
Of course, we mentioned that calendar a moment ago. It starts right here at Mount Panorama. This was really a place, Bathurst, that was originally known for its discovery of gold in the 1800s, but it's now more famous for this fantastic bit of road. 6.213 kilometres in length, 23 turns in total. And for one of these Ferrari Challenge Australasia cars, it's about 300 kilometres per hour at the kink, the chase. So watch out for those numbers as well as we fire through into this second qualifying session of the morning. Yesterday it was great, wasn't it? Because Enzo Cheng got the race win underneath his belt. Some interesting stats yesterday. It was his 4th outright win, and it was the second closest winning margin in the championship's short history of just 0.4 of a second. Remarkable stuff.
I mean, it really was a nail-biter. I had a bit of therapy myself last night just to kind of get myself over that race. There was a lot going on. And probably the big thing from yesterday was obviously lap record in the race. Rick Armstrong from New Zealand on screen there now in the number 2 car. He was forced to start rear of grid due to an issue in qualifying, going through the red flag. So this gives him a chance to reset and really show his pace today in quality. And I think if we get him into the mix from lap 1 today, we are in for a hell of a fight.
It was that comeback drive, wasn't it, that was quite interesting to watch, and not only for the comeback, but it was that bit of inter-team rivalry that he had going on as well with Rod Wilson. The two were bagging wheels going down into the final corner, and at one point it was Armstrong that forced him wide going down pit straight, but ultimately it was Armstrong that would get the upper hand with that classic block pass on that last lap.
And what I didn't realise, and I don't think what we sort of picked up on TV, is there were 4 cars with some marks of other colours on them yesterday afternoon after race 1. So there was a fair bit going on the whole way through the field. And I think also you mentioned Rod Wilson. Yesterday he was sort of mid-race. He just found this huge surge of pace. When Rick Armstrong turned up to the party, he sort of dragged him along. And Rod also going under lap record pace yesterday in that race. So I think we've got 5 cars here who are all going to be, you know, pushing really hard in qualifying. And I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. I reckon there's a 205 in these cars here in these conditions.
Anton Gattani on screen at the moment, second yesterday. Didn't quite really have enough, did he, for Enzo out in front. He just had to sit there and probably got hurt by the dirty air effect.
Absolutely, and that's I heard a couple of the coaches talking to their drivers about that towards the end of yesterday in the debrief after race 1, just about that racecraft, where to position the car, particularly in this section we're seeing here. The middle sector of Bathurst is where all the fast, high-risk corners are kind of happening. It's really close proximity. It is a street circuit after all, and you do get that effect of that turbulent air coming off the car in front, bouncing off those concrete walls and tumbling back onto the track, and that really does affect. When we get a nice close-up here as they come through the grate, that front splitter provides so much downforce to this car. And if you're super close here trying to orchestrate a pass, it does disturb the car behind and give you some, I guess, less grip and less confidence in pushing that car.
18.6 degrees is the ambient temperature at the moment, significantly cooler than when we had qualifying yesterday. So like you mentioned, maybe we might be able to dip into those high 205s. Incidentally, though, qualifying yesterday, the time to beat was a 206.9, so that'll be the marker that we'll watch out for. Rick Armstrong so far in the early portion of this qualifying session has gone fastest to the first sector. He's going through Forest Elbow at the moment, so we'll get an understanding as to what time he'll set across the top of the mountain, and also does go fastest currently. So 2 purple sectors for him at the moment as he makes his way down Conrod Straight.
chatting to Rick yesterday afternoon, he enjoyed the racing himself yesterday. He had to work really hard to get back where he got to. I think he'll enjoy the fact that he can get through qualifying today and sort of start further up the front and potentially, he was pushing very hard at the end of the race, still getting quick laps. I think he's got more potential in him. Now he's got more laps under his belt as well.
Enjoying the challenge of being here this weekend in a Ferrari. We typically see him over in New Zealand, his home country, in a Porsche. We'll get an understanding as to what the marker is going to be in the early portion of this session. He does a 2:14, which really isn't representative yet. Like we mentioned, probably up to 8 seconds quicker these cars will go. But it will take them a while with these cooler temperatures this morning to get the Pirelli rubber up to working temperatures and pressures.
Probably the thing we saw yesterday as well from qualifying is a bit of a strategy here with these Pirelli tyres of obviously having a crack on the green tyre, the fresh tyre, pressuring down and having another go later in the session. But what we saw, particularly with Antoine, is he went hard early and got a lap banked because we start getting traffic of the slower cars. We do have sort of multi-class racing happening within this one championship here, and that affected the lap we saw at the very end of the session, where they copped a little bit of traffic coming in the final turn, and Antoine didn't quite get the result he was hoping for.
2 sets of tyres available to the drivers here this weekend, which basically gets split between Saturday and what we saw yesterday as well. So you basically have 1 set for your opening race of the weekend, and then the second set for qualifying in race number 2, which we see here today. So it's a mind game a little bit of having to nurse the tyres in the early point of the day before you can push hard late in the race. And we probably saw that a little bit yesterday. Yes, this track isn't typically hard on tyre wear. It's very hard on tyre load. But even if you can save some laps here in qualifying, bank that time early, it might come to reward you later in the race this afternoon.
And we definitely saw that at the end of the race yesterday, Antoine had those 2 laps extra, or less, sorry, on his tyres from qualifying. He really had a pointy car at the end of the race. He couldn't do anything about it with Enzo, driving quite quick and defensively, but he still had a car that was available for him to attack at the very end of the race. And I think that strategy we're definitely going to see with these guys at the front. As they bank a quick time, they'll probably sort of save the car and hope that there isn't any issues at the end of the session so we can run a full 30-minute qualifier and have another crack at it.
Number 1 on the door of Antoine Gattani, the reigning Trofeo Pirelli champion. Will he go to number 1 in the early portion of this session? He does at a 2:08.8, so a respectable lap time there. Probably still more in it, as this car is slowly now coming up to the temperatures and the pressures that he would like. 291 kilometres per hour once it passed the speed trap on Conrod Straight. Interesting to note, though, by the time they hit the brake pedal, it's about another 150 metres, so you could add a few more kph to that to get the understanding as to how quick these cars are down the chute, as Cheng there goes to position number 3, but more in his back pocket to come probably on this lap.
And you mentioned there the Trofeo Pirelli class for Antoine. There are 3 classes racing here. Easiest to see from the side of the track on TV. The red banners we're seeing on track now as our kind of, I guess, our elite class, our 296 Trofeo Pirelli class is the red banners across the top of the windscreen. The 296 challenge we have with the yellow is our copper shell class. So I guess less experienced drivers that are still obviously racing the same machinery, same specification, but just it's really about driver experience. And then our blue windscreen cars are the slightly older 488 Challenge Evo, the existing model car which we run in a multi-class format. Still very, very fast car, as we see Richard Moore in P6 outright in a 488.
Jim Policina on screen was 3rd yesterday, and he threw some dive bombs, didn't he, to Antoine Gattani at certain points of the race, but just couldn't find a way past. And he made a few little errors, particularly down the bottom of the mountain, but he had so much pace going across the top that really he never lost that battle pack out in front.
No, and he's really tapped into a sort of a new amount of confidence in the car already this year. He's working with a new coach in Sam Brabham, obviously someone who's very experienced. And I think the way in which sort of Sam's he's sort of come up with a different strategy of utilising the traction control system in a different way. Jim's used to driving big horsepower V8 touring cars on less tyres and less aero than this. We've got to give him the confidence to really push that car hard.
Gee, Enzo Cheng then getting through one of the 488 cars, almost making contact then going down Conrod Straight. The car was parked in the middle of the road and Cheng had to go right towards driver's right in order to get past. He's done a session best to the first sector. He's done a personal best here to the second sector as he comes down into Murray's corner here, tips it in through the left-hander. You've got to make sure you don't make contact with that curb on the left-hand side, otherwise it will unsettle the car, but he does still go to the top at a 208.4, so he's got 4/10 now between himself and Gattani, and gets balked into turn number 1, so this lap will not count for him.
And I think we'll see definitely the fact that he got walked into one there and he had a bit of an issue. I think he's got way more pace in that that run he had down Conron that would have definitely affected that lap time for him in that final sector. Even though it was a purple sector for this session, there's more time there. I think he's going to try and get some clean air and probably be working with Ben Porter, his coach, to try and position himself for another crack at a lap here while the tyres awake. You know, the tyres at its premium now.
Here's Rod Wilson. We spoke about that battle that he had with Rick Armstrong yesterday and how the two were almost trading blows down there at the bottom of the racetrack. It was great to watch, and Rod was not giving him an inch, even though we thought that he might open the door for him.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I mean, a lot of our team as well, our engineers and our coaches know Rod. You know, he's got a massive history in motorsport. And we all sort of had a comment after. It was good to see sort of the angry woke up mid-race. All of a sudden, he's just turned on, and it was an awesome battle with him and Rick. You know, the best thing about this as well was at the end of that, they all sort of, you know, shook hands and were smiling and having a laugh about it. That was really cool to see. A lot of respect between the drivers here in this category. But still, as you say, like, elbows were out and they were getting into it. And Rod's car was one of those cars that had a mark on the door. So Rick lost a mirror, and there's a whole bunch of other things going on. So they really were only giving each other just enough space to sort of get this race done.
There's still fire in the old dog left, per se, as Gattani brings it through the chase here. Chasing another lap is the reigning champion. Comes down into the final corner now. Into the ABS, of course, that is adjustable throughout the course of a qualifying session or a race as well. Brings it to the line, and he now is the first driver into the 207s this morning. The 207.8. Remember that time yesterday in qualifying, which was slightly later in the day, was a 206.9, so potentially still a little bit more in it. The drivers might come back into the lane at some point just to re-pressure the tyres and head back out there with still 17 minutes left in the session. So it's Gattani from Cheng, Armstrong, the only driver in the lane, currently in position number 3, Policina, Norden. Then you go back to Wilson, Takeuchi-san, Troen, Moore, and Sabai, currently the top 10 on the racetrack right now.
And I'm just looking at our qualifying from this event last year. For race 2, qualifying at lap record was a 207.5 this time last year as well. So, you know, we're a little bit off that pole time from last year for race 2, which was slightly later in the morning. I definitely think there is more time out there, but we're already seeing that little bit of traffic kind of and congestion happening now. It's probably going to be that they will hopefully give themselves, we've still got 16 minutes to go. There's plenty of time to re-pressure these Pirellis, regroup, have a chat to their coach and engineer in pit lane, and then have another go at this for the end of the session.
You mentioned the times from last year. Reading some of the comments overnight, David Trewern was here 12 months ago. It was basically one of his first sort of car racing events, but said that year on year he made a 15-second progression than what he did in practice session number 1 here last year. So it's good to see that development for these drivers, because like you say, they come from, you know, really club sort of style racing more into now this national level.
That's right, and one of the big things with that is obviously having their coach and engineer to work with them, but simulators. You know, this is a road circuit. We can't come here and test every week or every month. We have very limited time to get here, so using a simulator and jumping online is a really good way of them actually developing this. iRacing at the moment has a 296 challenge competition going. Perfect timing for us, of course. Antoine Gattani was the world's #1 on that sim. 300-something laps he'd done. Then Lockie Manif jumped on, the coach of David Trewern, in 4 laps. He got to #1. So still, you know, there's still some speed in Lockie as well, but it really is a good tool to learn this track and prepare yourself for, you know, these events.
Here comes Cheng down into the final corner. He's on a lap here at the moment. Again, a little bit of traffic for him through Murray's corner. Let's see if that will hurt him. It does through the final sector, unfortunately. So he did a 208 flat, which was his best, but the numbers indicated that he probably could have gone towards the top of the timesheets there. Policina's just gone to position number 3, and Wilson now up to P4. So in the space for Heartbeat, Armstrong has gone from 3rd back to 5th here. And we'll wait and see if that is how the session's going to pan out. Halfway through, though, 15 minutes down, still 15 minutes to go, as Gattani now brings the pole-sitting car at the moment into pit lane. You can see Pollicini there just squirming under brakes heading into Griffin's Bend. Adjustable ABS in these cars, like we mentioned a moment ago. Also adjustable traction control too. We had some great shots in the lane yesterday of how that system works with the 2 dials on the steering wheel.
And I'm wondering if there's a bit of a strategy here with that 2-set tyre bank that we've got. They can start this session on the scrub set they finished race 1 on. So that might be reflective of why we're not seeing that sort of outright pace that we saw. But it is a big risk. We saw yesterday 2 of our sessions were red flagged with the car sort of spinning or basically causing a delay on circuit. If they don't take the punt early on that green tyre, they may miss the opportunity to use that in the qualifying session.
And Zhou Cheng back on screen here. Fastest to the first sector, now purple to the second sector as well. So he's going to look to try and lower this marker of a 207.8 here as he fires down Conrod Straight. He'll reach a top speed at the turning point of near enough to 300 kilometres per hour. Right at that point there. Steps on the brakes. Back down to 4th gear. 110 kilometres per hour at the apex there of the chase. Works his way out. Manage the traction control. Focus on your braking marker down here at the final turn. And if you pull all that together, you might pull together a respectable lap time. Here he comes now through the final turn. Zhou Cheng chasing pole position. First driver into the 206s, if you don't mind, a 206.7. 1 second clear of the rest of the field. Pollicina's on a lap here at the moment as well. Currently position 3, but stays 3rd.
And just like yesterday, Enzo puts the car in provisional pole while Antoine Gattani is sitting in pit lane at provisional pole at that point in time. So we're seeing a mirror of that today. But again, Pollicina now on some clean air. Hopefully he can get this lap in the bag, because there's not much in it between him and Gattani in second place yet.
Going back from the times last year as well, remember in this session last year, a 207.5 now compared to a 206.7. So year on year, these cars are getting quicker and the driver's also getting more and more comfortable.
And that man on screen there, Emil Norden in the 100 car, just put himself up into P5 now, splitting David Trewerne and Rod Wilson and Rick Armstrong. That is an awesome lap from Emil, who sort of had a bit of a mixed sort of bag yesterday in qualifying, and then the race had a little spin at the start which really put him back. So obviously there's a fire in the belly of him this morning, putting a 209.5, slotting him right in the middle there in P5.
Well, if it stays the way it is, that would be his equal best qualifying result in the series. His last best coming back at Sydney Motorsport Park last year for race number 1. So at the moment, the numbers looking good for Norden. You watch him coming out of the Ford cutting for this weekend and back towards the top. It looks like he's just buttoned off at the moment, as we've got a few drivers now coming back into the lane, and like we mentioned, probably just repressuring those tyres and getting set for one last shot at pole position here for what will be race number 2 of the weekend here this afternoon. And right on cue, Gattani will exit the Elf Oil pit lane and head back out onto the racetrack. So for this man, Antoine Gattani, he is looking for his 7th pole position, the last one coming back at Sydney Motorsport Park last year as well. So it's been a little bit of a pole position drought in some ways for Gattani.
That is a man on green tyres, Brian. That is precisely the way he is betting that green set in to get up Mountain Straight. So we may see a last-ditch effort here by Antoine to really put the pressure on Enzo.
And just looking at the numbers, David Trewerne at the moment has actually gone fastest to the 2nd sector, and Rick Armstrong has bettered that, and he's gone fastest to the 2nd sector. So some drivers a little further on through the field, setting some very impressive times across the top here, and wait and see if that is going to improve for them as Sabai is in that lane, that beautifully presented number 88 machine that will change throughout the course of the year. He's got an artist that will continue to develop that car and change the livery, as Trewerne position 4. So just lost a little bit in that final sector. Personal best though all for him, and does a 208.3, stays in that 4th spot.
But worth noting, that is effectively pole for his class of copper shell. So there's a bonus point there for for Truern in his class battle. P4 outright, but P1 in class. And Norden, as we mentioned before, in P5, is second in class at the moment. So between Norden and Truern, there's a separate little inter-class battle there.
Armstrong just losing out in that final sector, so whilst the first half of the lap was strong, the second half wasn't, and stays position 7 at the moment with a 2-minute 10.7. So a bit of a breather at the moment. The timing screens aren't quite lighting up. The reason for it, a few drivers coming back in the lane and getting set now on green tyres. Great shots of Gattani going into Forest Elbow with the eyes wide open, ready to set a lap time here, and looking for another pole position next to his name.
And they've got him in some really nice clean air at the moment. At the moment we've only got 105 at Taguchi heading down the front straight. Adnan Sabai as well heading out, but we've got a nice bit of clean placement here. It's a really good job by his driver coach and engineer to sort of get those greens on and get him out in this clean air to hopefully try and bag a lap, because I know I keep putting pressure on to get a 205. I still think there's definitely a 205 with green tyres in here.
And pole is so important in this class as well, because we saw yesterday getting clean air out in front and putting the dirty air for those in behind is so crucial. Ben Porter on screen here talking to Enzo Cheng, just trying to tell him maybe where he can try and find that improvement around this racetrack, as Gattani still probably just trying to get those tyres up to pressures. He was a little bit slow then through turn number 1. He's got time against him, time with him, I should say. Still 8.5 minutes in this session. Going back to the point, though, about how important pole is, out of the 11 races that we've seen in the category, 10 times the winner has come from pole position. And we saw yesterday how Enzo Cheng was sort of able to back those drivers in behind him, particularly going across the top of Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it really does make it hard for him. And also a GT car around here, same as in the 12-hour. It is hard, when you're very low, very limited sort of vision to peripheral around here. So it is hard to sort of spot the cars behind. The easiest way is obviously to build yourself a gap, but it is hard to drive defensive across here and still maintain pace, because there is definitely a quicker line around here. When you're in clean air, but when you're behind that car, you've got to offset, so you do get a disadvantage immediately.
The great thing about Ferrari Challenge Australasia is it's an opportunity for these drivers, isn't it, to possibly one day step up into GT3 machinery like we see here this weekend at the Bathurst 12-hour. It's really that birth for these drivers per se.
Absolutely, and even before we've got here with Ferrari Challenge, we have a program called Club Challenge, which is the same cars, the same tracks, but it's just a driver training program. We have same engineers and coaches that you'll see here. But beyond this, we had Cameron Campbell last year competing in the series with Josh Buchan as his coach. They've now progressed into GT this year. So they did a one-off at Hampton Down, had a great result down there, but they are now running the season in Australia in GT3. And that's really what this program is about, is for those that want it, there is a great progression into GT3 racing as well.
At the same time, these cars are proper thoroughbred machines, aren't they? Because they derive some technology from Formula One, like the S-duct that we speak about, how there's that opening and that front splitter is raised in the front section in order to create the wind underneath the car, which then ultimately with the S-duct flows over the top of the car. And that's to help with the pitch effect right here in positions like this going to the final turn. It helps settles the car under brakes and makes it a little bit more stable for the drivers.
That's right. The perfect example on screen now. Anything that's highlighted with a yellow tip in this car is a functional aerodynamic aid. It's there for performance, not for looks. These cars are all about performance, and as you say, there's a lot of real nuance to those S-ducts and canards and the front splitter and the rear wing on this car that is real F1-derived technology and really does make a big difference. There's an 18% improvement in drag and downforce over the 488 Challenge Evo. And that really makes a difference in lap time around here.
Leader of Copper Shell on screen, David Truern, bringing his car now into the lane. 4th overall, but like we said, has got that pole in that class. And if he stays in that position, it will be an extra championship point to his name.
And it's interesting, we haven't seen Antoine yet extract a sort of a decent sector out of that new tyre. So I'm not sure if he kind of got balked in any traffic, going a bit slow on his outlap. I haven't really seen what's happened to him, but I was expecting much bigger things on the timesheets this sort of soon after putting the green on.
How's this from Richard Moore at the moment in the older spec 488 Challenge Evo? Done a personal best, but a session best, I should say, across the top of the mountain and goes up to position number 6. So that's a very impressive lap time indeed. Likewise in front of him, though, Rick Armstrong improves to position number 2. So The Kiwi is making his way towards the front now as Gaetani, he is on a lap now at the moment as well. He does a session best across the top Mount Panorama as he will try and improve on that 2 minute 6.7. Here he is right now, heading down Conrod Strut.
That previous shot of the two Kiwis basically ganging up on the same time, and maybe they've helped each other, I'm not sure, but it is an awesome effort for Richard in that 488 car to be the quickest in the middle sector. That shows that he's really come to terms with that car very quickly this weekend, and yeah, very impressive. Antoine now purple in sector 2 with a 34 flat. Oh, we've got Adnan Sibai there off for the final turn. And that car will be stuck.
If there's a yellow down there, he's got to respect that yellow as he comes across the line. Still goes to the top, does a session best at a 2:05 flat. That is right on the numbers that you were selling us, Red. And right on cue, the red flag comes out with 4 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. You could not have picked that at a better time for Antoine Gaetani, as unfortunately Sibai parks it down there at the final turn.
I mean, you couldn't script that any better for him, could you? That was amazing timing. A shame to see Adnan there loop the car into Murray's, but yeah, 2:05 flat. That is a very, very impressive lap from Antoine there, really maximising that green tyre. And as you say, the timing for him was impeccable.
Now, with the session stopped at the moment, I'm not sure if we'll get this session back underway once again, because like we said, we've got a tight schedule here this morning with practice 6 for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour coming up just after 10 o'clock local time here. So luck on the side for Antoine Gaetani, and for pole position, that's so vitally important. And with Cheng in the lane, it stopped any opportunity for Enzo to really try and get back out there and rectify that second spot.
And also looking further down in Copper Shell class now, P6 Masahiro Taguchi has put on that last lap there, put himself within a couple of tenths of David Truern, so it also might have hampered Taguchi's sort of final run. He tends to be a driver that towards the end of the session, his confidence builds up lap on lap. He may have had a chance at pole for his own class there, so not only has it affected the Enzo and Antoine battle, and Rick potentially, but also Copper Shell.
The only thing that catches my eye with that lap from Gaetani is that will the officials have to look at the onboards later on to make sure that he did lift off in that final turn to respect the yellow flags?
I think so. Steve Owens, our driving standards advisor, so he'll be having a look at that with Anthony Jenkins and Mark Moore, our two race directors here, to really kind of have a look at that with the stewards and just make sure that he did respect that.
Good to know, and the Sibai car has just been cleared now from that final turn as the drivers head back into the lane. Good to see that Armstrong has made it back to the lane after getting pinged for that yesterday and going past the start-finish line. So Sibai will do the 3-point turn, get that car back onto the racetrack and rolling once again. The time continuing on our screens to count down here. It's at 2 minutes, so I'm not sure if we'll get a resumption of this session as Enzo Cheng, a case of what could have been for him. Position number 2, and that might be a little bit of a nail in the coffin if he has to start from position number 2 this afternoon, because we saw him had the pace, but he had the clean air out in front yesterday, and that's going to be important again this afternoon.
And that stat, Brian, you mentioned before about our pole place sitters winning races last year is so true of this category. And as we've spoken about here, so, I mean, now those, with Antoine there in the front row, that's giving him the perfect opportunity to run. But in P3, as we mentioned, Rick Armstrong's now in this battle, which wasn't there yesterday. So all of a sudden, this front row has changed quite significantly.
So I'm hearing session will be declared, which, as it stands at the moment, provisionally, Antoine Gaetani, pole position. He's 7th in the series. And that is a valuable marker against his name to try and clear that second spot that he had yesterday. It would have been a little bit of an annoyance for him that this man got above him, particularly in the early point of this championship. And Enzo Cheng, one of those drivers, knowing how important every single session is in order to count those points towards the back end of the year, because points are on the line here in qualifying now as well. Gaetani getting one extra championship point for being on pole position. So here are your times from this morning. A 2:05 flat for Gaetani, a new lap record for Ferrari Challenge Australasia here at Mount Panorama. Cheng in second, Armstrong, a strong performance from him, position number 3. Policina and David Truern topping Copper Shell.
Masahiro Taguchi there, just running out of time. I think to have a real crack at pole for the class was fantastic. And Richard Moore, as you said, to put a 488 car there and P7 outright is a mega lap by him. Rod Wilson just behind. I think in the race again, we're going to see those elbows come out and Rod pushing forward in the race.
Well, yesterday we saw a three-way fight for the race. Hopefully we get that this afternoon. I know a lot of drivers are very excited about being on national TV this afternoon on Fox Sports and KO as well, so plenty of excitement. But Antoine Gattani, a solid performance. His 7th pole position in the category, but can he win from pole this afternoon? We'll wait and find out. Practice 6 for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour coming up next.
intensity rises on Saturday at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. Welcome back to the mountain, everyone, for practice number 6 for Australia's International Enduro. And the further into the day we get, it all counts just a little bit more. And this session is something of a qualifying simulation, and it impacts how qualifying for this race plays out. The top 50%, or 17 cars from this session, get a free pass through to qualifying number 2. And that will give you a little bit of track position advantage, some clear racetrack advantage and track evolution advantage to get yourself into that all-important top 10 and battle later on this afternoon for the Alan Simonson Pole Award in the Pirelli Pole Battle. So there's many permutations. We'll be looking at who's 17th and 18th, who's in and who's out. But while we do that, there's going to be some fast lap times in a field that continues to get more and more competitive as the weekend goes on. If you're joining us for the first time today, this is the Mount Panorama Circuit, that 174 metres of elevation change, and a good chunk of it comes as you climb out of the cutting through what is turn 5. We know it as Reed and Solomon Park, down to the metal grade and then on to McPhillamy Park, Brock's Skyline, the run down through the Dipper, the S's, the Elbow, and then that long run down Conrod Straight into the Chase. Great overtaking opportunity at turn 21, the left-hander, and at Murray's Corner, the final of the 23 turns. It's 6.213 kilometres, and the quickest time earlier today, it was lapped in 2 minutes, 3 seconds, 0.04. John Plundoff, Garth Tander. Good morning once again. There's a bit of meaning in this one as the field condenses ever tighter as we build towards qualifying.
Good morning, Rich. Good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as you mentioned right at the top, Richard, the intensity level will continue to rise from this point forward to the rest of the day, where it actually really starts to matter. So yellow flag's actually waving across the top of the mountain, and we've gone safety car. So this is a safety car simulation, effectively. Make sure not only the drivers understand where all the flags and everything are, but also the communications to the cars, because the cars have in-car warning systems for the drivers. So it's a bit of a live test, if you like, to make sure all those systems are working.
Is that your lunch being brought in there, Krills?
No, that's his pay. That's his paycheck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wish. Wow. News to me. This safety car won't actually be deployed for.
So we're not going to see the lovely BMW M3?
Yes. Well, if we see it, it'll be tomorrow in the race at some point. Pretty high odds of a safety car in the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 out, let's be honest.
Can you reverse commentate the curse then by saying that? It's pretty high.
It's just a prediction.
Yeah, prediction.
It's just a prediction. That's our job.
So if you say it will happen, does it not happen?
It's a pretty safe bet, let's be honest, in this race.
Are we going to do an over and under?
Yes, yeah, we'll set the market for that a little bit later on. So this is, I mean, it's practice, isn't it? So we're not only practicing to get car setups right and to get drivers up to speed and
race
work out what tyre life is
teams,
like.
Speed limits can be deactivated. Speed limits can be deactivated. De-restriction signs displayed at all flag posts.
So when the track goes yellow, all of the cars engage their pit lane speed limit at that point, and then they are released to catch the safety car when it is judged to be safe to do so. So once the incident, wherever it might be around the circuit, is assessed, race control will then let everyone speed up to catch the safety car queue, and then the procedure goes from there. So some teams have still been in pit lane knowing that this is coming, and they will go out now. There's the 75, Sun Energy One 75 Express, this team based in Germany but operating all the way around the world, looking after Kenny Habul's racing programs. It's been a very, very speedy Mercedes-AMG GT3 this weekend with all 3 of their Bathurst winning drivers.
I think this is important for some of the teams and drivers to see this who haven't been here before, Garth, because there's always little vagaries and differences. The thing that catches out most the international scene is the no weaving when the safety car lights go out. How many times have we seen that completely nose up somebody's decent race position?
Yeah, well, so that is probably the #1 penalty that flies around the safety car and for the international teams and drivers, because it is very much an Australian rule, and the reason that's introduced is
race control attentional teams, green flag. We've completed the simulation.
So that's also making sure the teams are hearing all the comms and all the rest of it. So that's all critical stuff. So back to why they bring in the no weaving rule here in Australia after the lights go out on the safety car is because that's when they activate the wave-by. So you don't want cars weaving down Conrod Straight as cars on the wave-by are going past at warp factor 5. And you could have a reasonably small plane accident on Conrod Straight if that's going on. So that's what I remember when I was teammates with all the Audi factory guys. My job in all our briefings was to continually remind them of the local rules that it could trip you up. Because it is a real thing, and we do see it year on year on year.
Absolutely. I think it's a good rule. I think we should see it more. Still got yellow lights flashing.
So that's actually a really interesting one as well, because those yellow lights that you see when you drop down into Reed Park, they're advisory but not regulatory. So that's an advisory. So you can see the green flags are waving. That's regulatory. That means, okay, that's out of the rule book.
Right.
The yellow flag's flashing, and they're all the way across the top from what we call the tree, Reed Park, McPhillamy and Skyline, all the way through the S's. That's just to warn the drivers there is potential an incident across the top because it's so blind. Okay. So it's advisory. Those lights get used a lot when Skippy makes an appearance at the top of the mountain.
Right, I've been sighted a couple of times already this weekend.
He's an interested onlooker of the 12-hour.
The race teams put them on the car, so absolute race.
Trying to make friends with him.
Correct.
Trying to make friends, so don't jump in front of our car.
Exactly.
Please.
We have your brother on our bonnet. Please do not get in the way. This is a busy battle pack here. So Corvette leading 2 BMWs from Team WRT, and then the 75 Mercedes AMG next. So just to repeat, the top 17 cars, the 17 fastest cars from this session, progress through to qualifying 2 straight away. The bottom 50%, slower 17 cars will battle it out in qualifying 1. The top 10 combined cars from quali 1 and 2 then go through to the Pirelli pole battle later on this afternoon, which is always Shay Adam in Elfoyle Pit Lane, a massive highlight of our weekend.
Oh, it's so much. We've been talking about that for weeks, Krelsey, trying to figure out who will be in contention for that award. And I think we've come to the conclusion that with, 119 drivers in the field, we've got about 100 of them that could take the award. Just a quick update for you. During the last session, the 26 Arise Racing GT Ferrari lost a lot of fluid, critical fluid, while the crew was back working on the car trying to change out 2 sensors. The good news, Daniel Serra has the car on the racetrack right now. They're going to leave Daniel out for a bit of a long run to try and find what pace they have in the car, and then they will plug in Jackson Evans and Davide Rigon to try and find a little bit more speed and to give both drivers some laps around the track. Davide Rigon is a driver who's won the 24 Hours of Daytona. He's never been here before, though, and he was standing on the pit wall watching all the cars roll out just a little bit down from me. He looks nervous, guys, because he does not yet have the laps. He doesn't have the comfort. And oh, by the way, this session is only 60 minutes long. They've got a lot to accomplish for this Ferrari team.
That's a really good point, isn't it? It doesn't matter, Garth, what your background is, how well you know the car that you're going to jump into. I think you have to be respectful of this place when you get in. If you come here with the attitude that you know it all, you've seen it all, I've driven this track, that track, the other track, this place can bite you hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many times have we heard already this weekend, let alone years gone past, where drivers have done a huge amount of work on their sims and team sims and manufacturer sims that are pretty serious bits of kit.
Yes.
And then they come here and go, oh, wow, it's a lot harder than what it feels like on the sim. It's a lot tighter across the top. It feels a lot faster. The walls are much closer. So you have to respect this place. You have to work your way up on it. There's no shortcuts here. You have to do the laps. So when you do have someone like David Rigon, who has the CV of all CVs when it comes to GT racing, come here for the first time, he says, I have to work up to this place. So for the Arise Racing Ferrari team, that, to me, when Shay was going through everything they're going to do in 60 minutes, it feels like they're cramming ahead of an exam right now. They've got a lot to do and not enough time to do it.
The other thing is, and you talked about this yesterday, Garth, about Kai Allen's experience at Grove Racing on the simulator. I spoke to Max Hesse, who's the young BMW pro that's in the Team KRC BMW this weekend, and he said, I did so many laps on the sim, but of all the tracks I've been to, the sim prepared me the least for this place, because as good as those simulators are these days, there's the little 1%ers around this place, the elevation, the narrowness of the walls, that feeling of compression you get when you get up to the top of the mountain that a simulation just cannot replicate. So even he said, even on my first lap, I thought I knew all about it. It took me a long time.
It's the elevation change for me. Right? I don't do it, never used to do a lot of sim stuff because I had so much muscle memory. but it's the elevation thing that you don't get that sensation. You don't get that feel through the seat of your pants. And even on the motion sims, it can't recreate it like it does in the race car. So, you know, all the blind corners and all the rest of it, the blind corners by themselves are okay. The elevation change by itself is okay. But then when you have a blind corner with elevation change, the sim can't keep up and it can't replicate that for you. The only way that you can experience that is by doing it. And that's why laps here are so critical.
So an hour, and we've already an hour in this session to split the field, as Crailsy's been telling you. We've had 11 minutes so far, beginning to build towards okay time, certainly at the front of the field. Chaz Mostert in the Scott Taylor Motorsport 222, the 222, 2047. We got, I think it was 4 or 5 cars into the 203s in the last session, and the practice and qualifying lap record is that outstanding Maro Engel lap from 2023 at 2 minutes, 0.88.
10 cars into threes in practice number 5 earlier, so the field really ratcheted up in competition, and the fact that the 55 Audi ended up 0.2 of a second quicker than everybody, the next 20 cars were covered by a second. So that is how close and intense qualifying is going to be a little bit later on this afternoon. The general vibe, and vibe is often only 50% of the story here at Bathurst, is that you're not going to get anywhere near that 2.8 that Maro Engel so spectacularly did in 2023. I quizzed a few people in the gap between sessions about where the ultimate pace might be. Everyone's sort of speculating around the mid to low 2s, so maybe a 2.3 or a 2.2.
So it'll be a 1.
It'll be a 1.5, no doubt, because
1.5, I think.
What do we know?
Yeah, I think it'll be mid to high 1s is probably what we'll see.
Yep.
So here's one of the BMWs, very slow. Oh, wow.
That's the car that had the long pit stop in the last session for the
rear of the
something
car.
at the back
Yeah.
of the car, weren't they? They put the diffuser on, yeah.
That's why you want to be in qualifying too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was caught up with Chaz Mostert, Thomas Randall and Cam Waters from the Scott Taylor Motorsport 222 Mercedes, and just talking about Cam. I spoke to Cam about the traffic that he experienced on a lap. There was a big push lap. And they were talking about car balance. And the first thing they asked me, who used how many tyres?
Yeah.
And why, when did they do them? Who did a time on a tyre? So instantly, the general chat up and down pit lane is how many tyres have people spent so far. So, yeah, they're onto it straight away. But they've had really good speed, and they're very comfortable with this car. And I actually talked to Chaz about all the, because he's done, he's done Daytona, he's done Indianapolis, he's done this race so many times. And I said, where do you think you're at with all the other manufacturers? And I said, because I said, we're starting to see a little bit from Corvette, from Ford, and haven't seen anything from Ferrari. Chaz drove the Ferrari last year. Haven't seen anything from Corvette. And he goes, Corvette, when we was over at IMSA, said, we did not see them at all.
Yeah.
At all until qualifying, and bang, there they were there. Yep. And he goes, they're doing it again. Yep. So just leaning on a bit of his experience, and I think we will see when it matters in the next session. Or probably just, I wouldn't mind betting a Corvette
last 10 minutes
scrapes into the top 50%.
I would agree with that.
And then it goes fast in qualifying.
So you mentioned tyres there. If you are just joining us, tyres are not an infinite resource at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hours. And tyres have been managed very carefully in the day and a half of competition that we've had so far, to the point where yesterday, some of the teams, particularly the pro teams, in their 2 40-minute sessions, actually only used 1 set of tyres. That was the aim, Garth, to try and keep as many back for when the competition was ramping up.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that when we were talking tyres, the Scott Taylor Motorsport guys, they said, we only use 1 set of tyres all day Friday, and we put a new set on at the start of practice 5. And we've just run that 1 set, and I dare say they would have start this session on that same set of tyres, and they'll get to the end and then they'll put a set on for their qualifying sim. So you get to this sort of phase, and we'll probably get to this phase in the next 10-15 minutes of this session, where they're doing laps, but how meaningful they are, because you're getting beyond stint length tyre usage. When the tyre laps they did in practice 5 and the laps they'll do here in practice 6 on the 1 set of tyres, it's probably more than what you'd do in a stint in a race.
The other interesting thing was I spoke to James Konduras, so from an AM driver's point of view, the Supermarkets car, and he said, I went out on a set of tyres that had done 2.5 hours worth of work, so almost all of yesterday, and still went really quickly, and he was very comfortable in the car. So he was comfortable on that, and he said, I think when we get a new set of tyres on, there's going to be a massive amount of gain. Yes, but he was pleasantly surprised with how good the car was from an AM driver point of view on an old set, on a used set of tyres. So that was quite confidence-inspiring for him.
And the point that we haven't made about this, if you haven't been with us before, for this race, this is a new tyre. This is a different Pirelli to what we used last year. It has been used in some of the SRO competitions around the world, in Europe and in Asia particularly, so those teams have had experience of this tyre. The local teams have not, and it's not been run on the tarmac at Mount Panorama before, so it is a little bit of, not a voyage of discovery, but there are questions to be answered in all of this as to how long the tyres might go in the race, and I think some of those questions have started to be answered as the morning has gone on. Let's check back in with Shea Adam down in the Alfoil pit lane.
I believe that Ben Barnicat has found a bit more speed in the McLaren, or at least he thinks he has, because he brought the Optima Motorsport number 95 into the pit lane. They went to work on the right-hand side of the car. To me, it looked like they lowered the car a little bit. I believe I saw a shim being taken out. Then they told Ben, all right, on you go. And he went back out on the track. He's on an outlap now, but keep an eye on the car that is currently third on the timing charts. They understand that the lap time that they set to get that car up is not good enough to stay in the top half, or at least that's what they're expecting. So Ben Barnicat, who hasn't been here for several years, but the last time he was, finished second, looking for that tiny little bit more speed. Did he just find it?
Yeah, somebody went off ahead of him, which may have just distracted him a little bit. He's got one of the WRT BMWs behind him as well. And I mean, Optimum, perfect example. It's a 32 BMW, the recreation of that fabulous art car from a few years ago. Optimum, great example, Garth, of a team who've been very, very busy at the start of the year with a 6-hour to 24 hours before they got here. However, they're on their third different tyre manufacturer right now. Yeah. Same car, not exactly the same car, because the McLaren they have here last did battle on the streets of Macau. Third different manufacturer of tyre in effectively 4 races.
Yeah, so the point that Shea made when she noticed the change they were making to that car, just on one side of the car, and if it was a shim, it's more than likely camber, camber adjustment. And to your point, John, camber and tyre manufacturers go together. So you have tyre pressure and camber. They're the two big things that you work with when you change tyre manufacturers, because tyre manufacturers, they bake the cake a different way when they build a tyre, and that's just how they do it. So a Pirelli versus a Michelin versus a Hankook, or whatever it might have been that Optimum have used in these races, all have different strengths and weaknesses in the way that you use the tyre. So the camber that you'd use on a Michelin will be vastly different to the camber that you use on a Pirelli. And the track that if you did that at Abu Dhabi, for example, very flat track, not a lot of camber in the corner, whereas you come here to Bathurst, we spoke about the elevation change, high camber in a lot of these corners, so you need to have different setup for the car. So I would imagine that's what they're fine-tuning. And then, on top of that, you run a different setup when you go to qualifying. You're much more aggressive with the tyre when you're running qualifying. You only got to use it for 1 or 2 laps.
Chris Haas is about to go quickest. Should he complete this final sector as speedily as he's been going? Personal best in the first sector, session best in the middle sector, and as it has been already today, the 55 Audi goes to the top. Robert Renault was second for the Herbert Motorsport, that very pretty black and gold Porsche GT3R that has been flying under the radar, very stealthy looking livery, and same approach to their program so far. But Haas are quickest now for the Germans 1 and 2. Brock Feeney's gone third in the Ford Mustang with the quickest final split of anybody. Roman De Angelis next in car number 27, which is the heart of racing by SPS Mercedes AMG, and that's the class winner in the bronze class from last year. And you can associate car to class with our colour code in the timing totem left of screen, and that will be reflected throughout the race. So Pro is the white, the Bronze Cup, which is remarkably competitive in this race this year, with predictably the bronze colour highlighting the numbers. So Pro car, quickest bronze car is second, but also worth reminding that The classes are based on the driver ranking of the combinations only, not car performance. So if you've watched the Bathurst 6 Hour or some other enduro races, it's not like the cars in the bronze class are slower than the ones that are fighting for the outright victory. They can contend as well. Back down to Alfoil Pit Lane, and we can say a very good morning to Chad Naylon.
G'day, Rich. I was just standing by watching the Sol Lamborghini come into the pits. Marco Mappelli, who is the Lamborghini factory gun, has hopped into that car. Now, Grant Denye's just got out of that car. I'm not sure if you can see what the last lap time was for them because they probably just crossed that control line on their way in. But I can tell you it's the fastest lap that Grant Denye has ever done around this circuit, and he's rather excited about it. I reckon that would be the 6.4 that I can see up there as well. So correct. That is pretty cool. Now, we've just got a camera into the Wall Racing pit area right now. I'll bring you around the back and we'll see if we can find Grant taking the helmet off because he's a little bit pumped up right now. How cool is that fan favourite Lambo? Here he is. Check the smile on this guy's face. Come around this way, mate. Quick chat about that one. 6.4, fastest lap ever for you around here. Are you a little bit excited?
A little bit. Is it too late to give up game shows forever? This is amazing.
Swap you.
Yeah, that was really cool. This car's really well tuned up here this weekend. I think having Marco Mappelli and his engineer over here all the way from Europe, factory Lambo drivers, and oh my God, I could do that all day. I just want to win my lap. I was aiming for a 5. Should I just did the fastest lap around Mount Panorama?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to Grant Denye right there.
Does that mean we're now dating?
It's now fish right now. I'm very excited for you, mate. Can this car get into the top 50% out there with Marco?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's more refined. It's well sorted. Yeah, the kid can steer, no doubt about that. But even Tony D'Alberto was absolutely on fire in this thing. And hard to know, everyone's kind of probably got different game plans and foxing a little bit. I don't know if we've got enough in the tool belt to fox. But we'll have a red hot crack and, we'll be class contenders at the very least.
There you go. Watch out, Marco. If he sets a quick lap, you don't know what Grant's going to do, but it should be fun either way.
Thanks, Chad. Congratulations and happy Valentine's Day to you both. I'm sure you'll be very happy. Speaking of Tony D'Alberto, he did a 3.8 in that car this morning, which is another driver who's just done the quickest ever lap he's done at Mount Panorama. So the Lambo looking good, and I'm keen to see what Marco Mappelli, 36-year-old Italian who's got a bit of heritage racing in Australia, actually can do behind the wheel of that car. He is a factory Lamborghini driver. Roman De Angelis going quickly in his car. This is the Herberth Motorsport Porsche. Stunning looking thing. And Renault goes across the line. He's 4th at a 2:04.0. That is that car's best lap of the weekend so far.
Roberts, one of the two twins that's in that car. It really is difficult to tell them apart. If they're standing together, you can just about do it. But if you meet either one of them, and I've been talking about their motor racing for a very, very long time. Both very, very good Porsche drivers. Porsche World Cup winner. The non-factory driver competition that runs every year. And that's a very highly sought after position. Ralph Bourne, who's the 3rd driver in that car, the non-pro driver, if you will. Ralph, successful businessman in his own right, tall fella, very quiet till he gets in a Porsche, and then he makes noise, and he makes a lot of noise because he's good. He's very good.
It's a bit like Chris Haase with the briefcase and then turning into the animal that he is behind the wheel.
Absolutely.
Roman De Angelis has just pitted the heart of racing car, but he was on for a high 2 based on his 1st and 2nd sector times, but then bailed into pit lane, currently sits 3rd, but he was on for something along the lines of a 2.8 as Matt Campbell goes quickest in the session now for Absolute Racing and Porsche at a 2:03.62, 0.07 quicker than Chris Haase in the Audi.
If you have a quick look at the timing totem on the left of the screen, have a look at the car that's currently in 5th place. Brock Feeney aboard the Ford Mustang GT3. He's just gone super fast in the 1st sector, fastest by 3/10 over anyone else in the 1st sector. He's just completed a personal best 2nd sector, so we'll track his lap time. You can keep an eye on it. Here he is now, and you look on your timing totem, purple 1st sector, green middle sector, and it's this sector right here where this car is super fast. It is so fast in a straight line, so Brock just sends it through the chase, buries his foot in the brake pedal about the 100-metre board. Watch how it turns in, nice and stable, actually really stable in the rear. Actually looked like it needed a bit more front there, but got through the chase nicely. Only got one more corner left in this one. This will be an interesting lap. This will set a marker and we'll get an understanding of what this car is actually capable of achieving.
Do we get into the twos for the first time this weekend? We do. Brock Feeney, 202.91. And bumps Matt Campbell back to second position, who improves again. Matt did a 203.28, but Feeney a 2.9, so 0.3 of a second to the good. The Mustang on top, that is the quickest lap of the weekend. Suspect we might be saying that a couple of times in this session, the next 34 minutes.
We've been talking about how quick that car is in a straight line. That looked great under braking.
Yeah.
Really, really positive turn in from Brock there. And the car was absolutely solid.
Yeah,
All shimmying around.
The stability on entry was a big thing for me. Like, he was super deep on the brakes. The car was nice and stable there. But then when you make the transition and turn to the apex, the rear stayed super planted. Yep. And I wouldn't mind betting, I mean, it's hard to engineer a race car from the commentary box looking at a commentary screen, but if anything, it needed a bit more front. It needed a bit more lively. So as a driver, that gives you a huge amount of confidence that you can go a bit faster if you need to a bit later on, if they can just tune the car that little bit more. But as a race car, that's what you want.
Yeah.
What that car has is what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Brock will qualify that car, won't he?
I would imagine there's a fair bit of rock, paper, scissors going on in that garage right now. So any one of those three, Dennis Olsen, Chris Mees or Brock Feeney, but Brock's done a mega job in that car. He hadn't sat in it before it turned up here.
I think Dennis Olsen's the only one that hasn't really done a hero lap time in that car this weekend. Chris Mees drove it for the bulk of the session earlier today and set that lap time. So, I mean, Brock's qualified twice for this race. He is really good over one lap. So is this guy, though, pole position here in 2020, 12 months after winning Porsche's first Bathurst race. We were also raising the topic of Marco Mappelli. Well, Grant Denyer very enthusiastically raised the topic of the Italian Lambo Pro. He has delivered, and he's done a 203.40 to go third quickest, which is a very, very sporty lap time for that car. Here's Feeney. This lap time is going to improve. It's not. It matches, though, to the 10th and almost a couple of hundredths with the lap he did before. So a 202.93 for Feeney last time round. Plays a 202.91 for his best lap.
So that car, fastest in the first sector, fastest in the last sector. So fastest up the mountain, up Mountain Straight where he is now, fastest down Conrod, the two straight bits, but 0.3 away across the top of the mountain. So the way that this car is BOP'd, if you like, the way that it makes its lap time, and this will become a thing when we talk about the raceability of the cars, this is what you want at Bathurst. Remember the Nissan GTR?
Yeah.
Remember how fast that was up the mountain and down the mountain?
Real quick.
Just had to get across the top. You can't pass up there. So if you can get it down the straight bits really nicely and make it comfortable across the top, it doesn't have to be the fastest, just comfortable, then you're in a shot, have a good car that's raceable for the end of the race.
But for all of the circuits around the world where I watch GT3 racing, and that's a lot of circuits, Bathurst, Mount Panorama, is the track that shows the performance characteristics and the differences between the cars more than any other place because of the unique nature of this circuit with that long run up, the long run down and the twisties on the top. And pretty much every other place around the world, it balances itself out much differently to how it does here. And the differences are far more difficult to perceive. You can look at microsectors to see it, but here it is absolutely the circuit that shows it all up. Chad's back with us down in the Elf Oils pit lane. Where have you wandered down to this morning, and who are you going to accost next for your Valentine's Day? Are you collecting kisses this morning?
I'm standing down by myself on the pit wall, just needing a moment to gather myself. If you guys look out of the commentary box window, look up, and you will see big, dirty grey clouds covering the sunshine from the racetrack. I get the feeling we're in for a little bit of a sweet spot here because that is heavy cloud cover and it looks quite large as well. So I reckon we're going to go a good 10-15 minutes here of the racetrack with no UV on it. So it should be a pretty sweet racetrack for the next period of time, I reckon.
Oh, the old qualifying cloud.
Holy cloud.
Every driver dreams of at night. Well, it could be a hero bit of cloud for Chris Haase, who's going quicker than anybody, looking to pop the Audi back up to the top. That's a sticker set of tyres about to go on. The Lamborghini with Marco Mappelli behind the wheel. See if he can go quicker again and improve on that car's 203.40. Haase not far away from completing a lap. Here he is into the Scuderia Auto Art chase. Nissan GTR drift car here with Bagsy, who's a bit of an international drift guru. He was doing some skids through there the other night. He'll be on track a bit later on today, part of the on and off track entertainment here at the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 Hour. This has been a very good lap. You speak about cars producing their speed in different places. The Audi, traditionally very good in the middle sector, which is all the fast stuff across the top. And that's where Chris Haase has delivered with a purple middle sector and goes to the top of the 202.81. So 900ths of a second quicker. Once again, a little bit too much grass on the outside, on corner entry and corner exit for the McLaren.
Tick. Yeah, that one down for the McLaren. It's joined the club. Yeah. So, but you can, I mean, you can open a lap, start the lap, and it's all ruined in the first 300 metres. Yeah. So, it still blows me away. It blows me away that the most simple corner, second gear, brake it at the 60-metre board, turn it in, get on the throttle early, creates the biggest drama and the most heartache. It still amazes me, and it's a car positioning thing. Yeah. For the drivers that are used to driving left-hand drive cars.
Having said that, what's the apex speed? Turn 1, GT3 car, roughly?
Oh, 90k.
Yeah, okay. So from braking at 60 metres from over 200.
Yeah, it's as vanilla gets, though, in a GT3 car. It really is.
It's meat and drink for a GT3
yeah, it is.
car.
It is. And I genuinely believe it's because you switch off a degree. Yeah. You get, because even the last corner, Murray's, is a challenge because the brake temperatures are through the roof and it's downhill, it's a little bit bumpy. Yeah. Turn 1, it's turning, it's got good camber and you're going uphill so you can carry good momentum. You almost take it for granted and go, oh, well, I don't have to think about this one too much. And then we see this so many times.
It's called Hell Corner for a reason. A couple of good performances here, and Marvin Kirchhofer, having made that little error, still set a personal best first sector, but he's got traffic across the top, so this lap won't be any improvement. 16th at the moment. Why is that important? We're looking to take the top 17 forward into qualifying 2, the fastest 50% into qualifying number 2 a little bit later on this afternoon. I wanted to give a shout out to Marcus Flack, who's just gone 11th overall in that Volante Rosso McLaren that has been troublesome in the lead up to today. Just done a 204.4. Bailey Hall did a 4.8 in that car earlier on today. Rylan Gray yet to drive, and JB Simonow as well. That's very, very sporty from the silver class entry. Blue highlight, car number 15. Currently the top McLaren of the two 720 GT3s that are on the grid. This has traditionally been a very good platform here at Mount Panorama and finished runner-up in the 2020 Bathurst 12 Hour. On the white line that time round for Mr. Kirchhofer, but not over it. Either entry or exit of turn 1. Back down to pit lane with Shane.
With the living legend, Matt Campbell. Matt, it's the best time. You get to go around Mount Panorama, and we're getting ready for the pole battle. You've won that pole before. How special is it when you can be the fastest car around here?
Yeah, I mean, it's always really cool, you know, especially back then with proper top 10 and getting the track to yourself. Obviously now the rules have changed a little bit, but nevertheless, I mean, anytime you get a new tyre around here in the GT car is always a lot of fun. So, you know, enjoying myself, always love this race. One of my favourites of the entire year, and might be a little bit biased being my home race, but it's always good fun.
Well, and it's close to your birthday too, so it's even better when you get a win. This race has been so good to you over the years. What is it about the track that just seems to click with your driving style?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've driven here a lot over the years and just thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I've had a pretty good track record here, luckily, so hopefully we can continue that this weekend. For sure, last year wasn't what we wanted. It was quite a tough weekend last year, but I think the car's in a much better position compared to last year, and we're all really happy. So let's see, we don't know really where we stand at the moment. Obviously, everyone's doing different plans throughout practice, but we'll get a good idea early this afternoon.
It's so important to be in the top 10. I mean, the race winners come from the top 11, I think it is, every rendition we've had of this race. Are you maybe going to have to get back in the car before the end of this one just to throw down another flyer?
No, I think for now, you know, I'm good in this session. We made a few improvements and so forth, so got a good feel for it going into this afternoon. Yeah, and give some more laps. Obviously, the sessions, you know, even though we get, let's say, a lot of track time looking on paper, it goes by quite quickly, especially when you have 3 drivers. So, yeah, we're just circling through now and getting some laps under our belt.
Good luck. Can't wait to see what you do later.
Thank you.
He's a great driver, right? He's a great driver in whatever he drives, GTs or prototypes. But he does raise his game when he comes here. Some drivers just click with some circuits, and whether it's because it is his home event, Garth, or not, but there's just something about Matt Campbell here where he seems to wring another 1% out of himself.
Well, Rich and I are fortunate enough to have seen the pre-international Matt Campbell when he was doing Porsche Carrera Cup here in Australia, and even here in the Porsche Carrera Cup car, he was a step above the rest.
Yeah.
Like, he had a very strong championship year that year in Carrera Cup, but at Bathurst in particular, he was another step. So it is one of those tracks for him, and he's very fortunate being an Australian international now that he has this track that he clicks, and he probably just comes so naturally to him. He probably couldn't answer that question for Shea because it just comes so naturally for him. And even when he did it way back when, before he has all this experience, and he was doing Carrera Cup and on the way up, he was super fast here, like super fast. He had the lap record here for a long time.
He did, yeah, almost 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
he took a new generation of car.
Yeah, they had to
research
the track and give him another car to beat his lap record. Like, he was that good here then, and he's only got better.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, how some drivers just gel with a particular track. What would you say yours were?
Oh, I don't know. I had to work at all of them, John.
Oh, come on. The whole 6 time. You were pretty good here, Garth. You were pretty good here. Bastian Boos is behind the wheel of this car, the 22-year-old Dane, who was the 2023 Porsche Super Cup champion, another one of those Porsche driver that's come up through the one-make system and then been injected into their GT racing program around the world. And it's interesting with the shuttering of the Porsche Penske Motorsport World Endurance Championship program, it's actually freed up some of their drivers to pop back into the GT programs around the world. So the big ticket races where Porsche may have been a little bit quiet relative to where they were, say, 5 or 6 years ago, all of a sudden now they're back sort of flexing their muscle and going, oh, we can send you Matt Campbell, we can send you Bastian Boos, or whoever it might be. Porsche have 2 pro cars here this weekend that are absolutely in the mix, and the 3 other cars here which are entered in class competition have so far shown that they're very, very strong. So they're having a big swing at this one, Porsche. Matt's in a great headspace at the moment. A reduced racing program for him, only the endurance long distance stuff in IMSA, but he'll do some more GT racing this season, but spent some time in Australia in the off season, which was great. He's nice and relaxed, and attended the wedding of Jackson Evans just a couple of weeks ago and had a very good time. So he's been looking forward to this one for a while, Chad.
Hey guys, I spotted that Elbamba Motorsport Porsche stuck in the lane for quite some time as we check out the BMW with all lights blaring and shining down in the pits. It was 13 minutes plus, I think, for that EBM Porsche in the pits. And they had the computer plugged into it and a whole bunch of people working around the laptop. Ultimately, what had happened was they were tuning up their pit lane timer, trying to get it as close to 80 seconds as possible. And when they refreshed everything, they lost all the dash, so it became a little electrical gremlin as well. And it wasn't as simple as turning it off and on again. They needed the entire IT department to get to the bottom of it. The full refresh was essentially executed, and 13 minutes later, that car got back on the racetrack. So we saw the belt issue for them yesterday, and then another little one here today, and it's back into the pits right now.
Yeah, back into the lane now. So I wonder whether they're either reconnecting they just jacked it up. Doesn't look like a whole lot going on right now.
No.
Whether this is actually a simulated time, so they're going to stop it. Is there someone with a stopwatch down there, Chad?
Looking, but no, but they'll be probably checking the time inside.
I think so, yeah. It's called the race logic box.
Yeah.
There's a little box that counts for the driver, and they'll drop it, and then he'll go. So what they're simulating here is the total pit stop time.
Yeah.
What they should have done if they had an IT...
I'll give you a shot of it. Here, come, Mitch. Check it out. Look on the green dash, the red number. It's just gone into 14, 13, 12. Can you see it? Just in starter on.
There you go.
10, 9, 8. Once that gets to 0, off you'll go, and they've timed that to equal 80 seconds at the exit of pit lane.
Oops. And to Richard's point, that's Lauren Heinrich behind the wheel of that car now. He has been promoted up to IMSA competition in Porsche Penske Motorsport, the 963, but is still available for events like this, cut his teeth in the GT Porsche ranks, and very highly thought of by Porsche Motorsport in Weissach in Germany. And absolutely deserved his shot. He had a go at the back end of last season in the 963 and confirmed now to be running the full season in IMSA competition. And we're only a month away from the 12 Hours of Sebring, which will be my next international trip. Oh, on the limit there.
Yeah, Marco's on a decent lap. Had some traffic across the top and lost a second in the middle sector. But his first one was very good, so a 2:03.5, only a tenth off the car's best. So might go again this time, but clearly got very good run out of the chase to crash into the rev limiter before getting on the brakes for Meguiar's corner, which is Murray's turn 23 of 23 at Mount Panorama. So this is going to be a good indication of how hard this Italian factory Lamborghini driver is doing. And Lamborghini have engaged really well with Wall Racing over the last couple of years. They've sent engineers out to help with this program, to help the Adrian Dietz-owned program run by the Sydney team, Wall Racing, headed up by Carrera Cup champ and former supercar racer David Wall. And he is marshalling so close to the wall at the kink before the forward cutting, and then even closer on the run in up to Reed Park.
He's got a decent bit of clear air ahead of him, Quilsey. He keeps this going.
It's got a bit of understeer, this car. So just noticed it when we took the shot from outside the car at the chase, and then when we went on board down at the final corner at Murray's, and then even into turn 1 at Hell Corner. It's got what we call understeer after turn in before mid-corner. So you turn the wheel and it responds, but then as you build the lock, the front stops responding as much as you want. So you actually have to pull a bit of speed out of the car to get it to the mid-corner. So it's sort of what we call, whoa, turned in a little bit early there, Marco. Nearly got the wall at the Forest elbow. He is having a hustle. And then when we saw him at the kink going into the cutting, he carried so much speed through the kink that he ended up too wide. And you need to stay about half track there because the truck's got good positive camber, but then it flattens out if you go too wide. So he dropped the wheel out of the good camber onto the bad camber and lost the rear. He's having a big go. It's cool to watch.
Right to the far right-hand edge as he turns in to the Scuderia Auto Art chase, and now coming down to Meguiar's Murray's corner. It's the way the nose of that car really dives as well. Really dives. It's more noticeable on that car than perhaps any other that we've seen.
Interesting to watch that lap as Marco Mappelli does go to the top with a 2.5. Is that understeer after turning to mid-corner was better on the second lap. So that was tyre temperature on the first lap. So this is the sort of stuff they simulate when they do these simulations. How quickly does the tyre come in? What does the car balance change like on lap 1 to lap 2? So that they can make it better for lap 1 when they really want to do it.
Jordan Love, Corvette fans all around the world knew that when you guys were bringing the Corvette here, it was going to be a bit of a learning curve. But where is the speed missing from the Chevy?
Yeah, big learning curve. Obviously, it's credit to the team making this event happen. It's such a good event. It's a bucket list event. So to be here is awesome, and to be here with this car is pretty cool. So yeah, look, obviously we're still learning. First time this car's been here, obviously. So we're chipping away. We're happy. The car feels nice. It's comfortable, which is nice for the race. But yeah, I think outright speed, it's clear we missed a little bit, but I'm sure we'll figure it out by tomorrow.
It's all about getting it right over the top of the mountain and then having the ponies to go down the big straights. But for you guys, you've got an advantage in having this two-car team. You not only know the team, but co-drivers who are factory Corvette. How much help has that been to be a two-car organization instead of just sole?
Yeah, it's a massive help, and obviously we get great support from GM, which is awesome. But yeah, to have Earl, Nicky, and obviously Alex here is great. They bring so much experience to the team. They've done many races in this car, so it's great to have them here and to learn off them and to help the whole team lift as a whole.
Well, and having the Pro-Am aspect, you guys have been able to run in every session. Have you gotten enough data to the point where you think, all right, we can try this on that car and go for this on ours?
Yeah, definitely. Look, the racing that we've done over the last 12 months, we've learned a lot about the car, and we're starting to get to a point now where we can roll up to a new track and roll out in a relatively happy place. So yeah, I think we miss a little bit of speed, but the car feels nice and comfortable over the top, which is very important for us being in Pro-Am. So yeah, we'll try and find a bit of speed, but it's feeling nice for the race, so we'll see.
That's what matters. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, guys, we're now coming down into the last quarter of this session, and there are one or two big names that aren't in the top half so far. I'd expect, Garth, that the likes of Lauren Heinrich in that number 61 Porsche, there's the 46 Raffaele Marciello BMW from WRT, and this Fjordbach, okay, that's a bronze car, but they've got some talent in there as well. Throw a new set of tyres on it in the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Even the Team BRM Audi, Alex Peroni's just jumped aboard that one, so you expect to see that jump up. That was very fast in practice earlier this morning as well. Chad is in Elf Oil pit lane.
Yes, I'm actually snuck into the Absolute Racing pit area because I remember an interview with Matt Campbell chatting about this car with Shay, saying that they weren't really going to touch it. And then minutes later, I said them ripping the front splitter apart on this car.
What? A team tell you a furphy?
It was weird. So I went down to Matt and I said, well, what's with the splitter change? It didn't look broken. And he said, no, we're just trying things out, was the answer. And it's a pretty spec part, so it's unusual. But check out the tape that they've got there on the right front corner. The new splitter that was going onto the car didn't quite clip up as nicely as they wanted, so they put a bit of race tape on. It took about 5 minutes to change that all up. It comes in 2 parts, the splitter assembly. You can see them just adding down here in pit lane right now the top part of the splitter to the bottom part of the splitter. They had a little bit of a look on the left-hand side to see where that connection is on that splitter to see why it didn't connect up so well then. But unusual, Garth. Could you shed any light on why teams be changing up essentially what are spec parts for the Porsche in the middle of a practice session?
So that was a brand new one that went on, Chad?
They had it laid out. It looked pre-planned.
I'd say that's got more downforce when they're brand new. So inevitably the cars have a lot of rubbing and that changes the thickness. So they probably want to get the floor of that front splitter closer to the ground more often. So yeah, okay, it hits the ground a lot of the time, but when it's not hitting the ground, you want it as close to the ground as you can. So I dare say a brand new one just has that little bit more material, gets it a little bit closer, so when the car's not touching, you got a bit more front downforce.
It's not a different spec.
No. That's just a new version of what they've had. Yeah. So you just get slightly more downforce from that. That's certainly know that the Mercedes teams do that as well.
So a bit of movement on the timing screen as things ramp up. Remember, we're looking to take the top 17 cars. The fastest 17 go straight through to qualifying number 2. Top 50% of practice number 6, and that will be the session to be in as we look to take 10 cars into the Pirelli pole battle. So you touched on the BRM car. I spoke to the team between sessions. They gave Steve Brooks the first 40 minutes of this session just to get some lap time and get some experience and get some confidence. Alex Peroni has been dubbed the chosen one to qualify that car today. So he and James Golding, the team says, had a little shootout in practice 5 early on, and it was Peroni who was quickest. So Alex is out there now. He's got that car into the top 10. Nicky Katzberg was behind the wheel of the Corvette and dragged that car further up the order. It's now 13th with El Bamba. That's car number 2 we're talking about, who has climbed back up the order. So they're working their way in. Right now it's Cameron Waters shown behind the wheel of car 222. He's in 17th position. He's just left pit lane. And 17th is the cutoff point. Anywhere below that, and you're in qualifying 1, the bottom 50% of this order. Shay.
Talked about Nicky Katzberg climbing up the charts. Well, he did that by hitting the wall. He just came in, did a driver change over to Earl Bamber, and the crew reached their hands into the wheel on the left rear, pulled out tons of debris, this little blue and white bits. And I said to the crew, what is that? It looks like seashells. They said, Nicky brought back part of a wall. So I guess he really is pushing, finding the limit and then some. But Earl Bamber's aboard that card now, so I'm sure it'll be fine. No walls for Earl.
Also, if you're the mountain at the moment, the 2 Corvettes are running in team formation. Get your cameras out. It's a great thing. The walls here, Garth, the advertising on the walls, it's painted on. Yes. And that's basically taken off a layer of paint and a bit of concrete.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been even in concrete. I think he's got it that finely. It's just a bit of paint, because the walls get painted here quite regularly. So the walls are probably 10 mil thicker than they used to be when they were brand new, because there's that much paint on them. So you can't make a concrete block softer, but you can add a bit of paint to it, and that's what they've done.
Sorry, guys, I was just... I still got a hot fuel. Thank you, Brad. I was just down at Audi trying to get to the bottom of why they were just doing a brake rotor change and putting in the German gun Christopher Haase, which would suggest that they're about to have a crack. Yeah. And I was getting a little excited about to tell you they're going to have a crack, but then Brad Schumacher says, no, it's still got quite a high fuel load at the moment for that car. So a bit of patience before they see the 55 light one up.
Well, they're still second, so 2:02.82 with 11 minutes to go. Now, I'm not saying that that's safe yet, but it is a very, very decent lap time and just a couple of cars in the 2s in this session. So Haase back out. Mapelli quickest, by the way, in the Lamborghini. Audi second. Ford third with Chris Meese behind the wheel. Jules Gounon did the time earlier in car 75. Lucas Stolzer's driving their 4th. Bastian Boos is behind the wheel of the 911 Porsche. Matt Campbell did the 203.2. That's put them 5th. Ryder Quinn in the Quinn number 101 Audi. And no, I'm not stuttering. That is true. Of 4 Quinn family members, 3 generations. He's just done a 203.2 and put that car 6th. That is a mighty, mighty lap from the young man. Alex Peroni 7th. Kelvin van der Linde has just started a lap. He's 8th in the BMW that won the race last year. Lee Holdsworth, who made the Pirelli pole battle last year inside the top 10, as Peroni goes 3rd, Jaden Ojeda 6th. So it's now starting to fire up. The cut-off point is 17th. Mark Kirchhofer behind the wheel of the McLaren. A 2:04.2 is the cut-off time right now.
So what is it going to be, Garth? It's going to be a 3-something. How far down the threes? Mid-3?
Well, currently it's a 4.2. Yeah, it'll be a 3.5, 3.4, something down there.
You have to be within a second of that 2:02.5 of Marco Mappelli.
Agreed.
So the reason they changed the brakes on the 55 Audi is they will be the brakes that they will qualify with. So it's just a check. So they'll be pre-bedded. They would have been on the car and had a very bedding procedure, very deliberate bedding procedure they do usually before they even come to the racetrack. It would have been done at a test day leading up. So now they put them on. Chris Haas is going to qualify the car. So he feels those brakes to make sure he is comfortable with those brakes. They're only going to do 10 minutes of this session, so they're going to be as fresh gets going into qualifying when they bolt a brand new tyre on.
Here's Ryder Quinn. Distinctive livery with the gigantic Q on the side of the Audi R8, run by Team MPC. It's the same team running that number 55 Audi we've been talking about with Chris Haase. So we know that the cars are fast, and there is all of the family and friends and guests that have come over from around Australia and from New Zealand as well. There's Tony on left of screen, chatting to Josie Spillane, who's the CEO of the group and runs the racetracks and the Repco Next Gen Championship in New Zealand, and all of the other bits and pieces going on over there. That is a great lap from Ryder Quinn, but already back to 9th place because Jaden Ojeda's jumped inside the top 10. Bryce Forward's just punched out a very nice lap time in the number 14 Aston Martin to go 11th for Valente Rosso, and all of a sudden the cut-off time now is a 2:04.0.
Yeah.
So it was a 2:04.5 a minute and a half ago.
Yeah. Keep an eye open for the 222 AMG sitting in the pit lane at the moment. Scott Taylor Motorsport, Cameron Waters brought the car back in, sitting in 21st at the moment. They'll be getting that car ready for its charge. Coming down to 8 minutes to go.
Can I reassess my cut-off time?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be better than a 3.4. it's you have to be very low threes.
As they say on the news, it's a rapidly developing situation here.
So, I mean, Waters is 22nd, Earl Bamber's 23rd, Kai Allen 17th, Boccolacci's 30th. He's not going to stay there.
Jackson Evans 26th.
Tessie 25th. David Russell in the Honduras AMG. He could spring a surprise. They're down to 26th. So the queue to get into 17's long enough, let alone the queue to get into the 10.
Well, Dylan O'Keefe is 31st in a car that we know can do low fours, but with Dylan behind the wheel should be able to do threes. That is how competitive it is. This is the Corvette, car number 2, the pro car, turning into the final corner. It's double Le Mans winner Earl Bamber behind the wheel. That wasn't the lap to do it, and remains 20th. The Corvette still in the bottom 50%.
Ryder Quinn fast across the top.
2.9.
That Audi.
Wow.
2.9 for Ryder Quinn. They should park that car.
Yeah.
Just calm him down.
I think that's
calm
enough.
him down, because the 2.9 is an exceptional lap.
Tony said yesterday he's the rooster. So the rooster's going to get the hero laps, and then they're just going to settle it all
He's
down.
a good unit, Ryder. He's a really good unit.
He's an awesome kid to have a chat to as well. That's Scott Taylor Motorsport watching on. Barry Ryan on the left of screen has been drafted in. We talked yesterday about the fact this is a melting pot of the supercars paddock all joining forces for one weekend, and then on Monday it'll all change hands and they'll all go back to hating each other and boxing on in supercars.
Put different clothes on Monday and they go back to hating each other. So
there's as much talent in the pit lane and in the garages as there is behind the wheel. Up and down, up and down the lane here. No, this is an absolute who's who of Australian motorsport and international motorsport as well, but particularly it's great to see the likes of Barry coming out for this event.
Looks to me like there's a bit of preparation going on here for Cam Waters in the 222 car, so you can see him back there. That's David Russell just ahead of him in the Honduras AMG Mercedes as well. So Waters just backing away, because you don't want to start too closely the lap one, so you get held up across the top, but you don't want to be driving in the dirty air of the car in front of you as well, because we speak a lot about downforce, so you need around 250 to 300 metres of clear track in front of you for it to stabilise, the air to stabilise again, and then you get efficient downforce.
Scott Andrews has just gone second in the 44 Guy Valmont racing car. So that's the Pro-Am entry, the Boiselle Pro-Am class entry that he's sharing with Marcel Zalua and Sergio Perez, originally from Torquay in Victoria, now lives in Miami, Florida, Scotty, as a professional GT driver. Very handy 202.6. Gets within a tenth of Marco Mappelli, puts the 44 car into the mix.
And we haven't made the point for a while, we should do. Any car that can do the time with any driver behind the wheel of their squad can get you into the top 17 and thus the top 10.
To your point, definitely time to get Ryder in. He's just done a 2.5 and gone second.
Okay.
I think that's faster.
More risk than reward now for the rest of this session.
And within a thousandth of a second of Mappelli. So almost identical lap times between those two cars.
That's a mega job. A mega job for Ryder Quinn.
He hasn't got another plane to catch, has he? Like to disappear again. The last time I saw him in a car was at Highlands, and he did about the first 15 minutes of the race and then dashed off for a plane.
Scott Andrews there does a nice job getting out of the way of Cam Waters for the run down to Forest Elbow. So
that's how you do it. You can do it.
Perfect. Exactly how you do it. Scott Andrews has a huge amount of experience in GT racing around the world. And you can see that Waters actually has closed in on David Russell. So they both started the lap, but Waters gave David Russell a fair bit of room, and to the point, Russell's rolled out of it. So that lap hasn't worked for him. Where is Cam Waters on the timing screen right now? He's down in 23rd. So personal best first, personal best second sector. You can see for him, he's got a clean end of the lap. So this will jolt them up. But how far do they go?
Earl Bamber in 17th position at a 2:03.8. So that's the cutoff time to make the top 50% in qualifying. Waters goes to 12th with a 3.0. So 0.4 of a second away from Mappelli's quick lap, and you're not even in the top 10.
But look at the gap he's got to everybody else as he's going up Mountain Straight now. This is the lap. This is the lap for him.
That's exactly what I looked at. As soon as he crossed the line and did that time, I looked at our tracker, our GPS tracker, and he's got the most track position of anyone on the track right now as far as clear track in front of him does Cam Waters. So he will certainly use this, understand the car balance now. He's done that first lap. We saw from Marco Mappelli how much better the car balance was on the second lap. That was a rear engine car or mid-engine car. Merc front engine, it'll work it a little bit different, but you expect Waters to improve on this one.
Yeah, it's an early highlight for the Quinn family down here this weekend, guys. Just watching that time from Ryder Quinn pop up. And yes, they are going to put that car back in the box on this lap just for safety, deciding to calm it down. But they actually got the entire family around the timing screen and got a family photo with the timing screen. That's how happy they were with that lap.
It's such a cool story. It's going to be something to follow tomorrow. And should they make the finish, which is their only objective for tomorrow, the party will be just as loud as whomever it is wins this race outright. This is Earl Bamber. You saw him pulling to the side at Meguiar's turn, just opposite the National Motor Racing Museum here at Mount Panorama, and just building up to get himself some clear racetrack. Is that Clark leaning in?
I reckon that's Dad.
Yeah, that'd be Dad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely Dad. So good to see Clark back behind the wheel.
Yep.
Very, very handy Carrera Cup racer in the first part of the 2000s. A genuine outright competitor and race winner. What a lap it is from this young guy. 2:05.57. Plays a 2:05.57 for Marco Mappelli. But Bamber pushing on. Not the personal best first sector. He's going to get traffic again.
32 BMW.
Oh, that car should know better.
He'll want to get a wriggle on now, Earl Bamber, because he's running out of time to get around again and complete another lap. That's Uncle Kent getting the hug, and TQ will be in there as well. Cam Waters goes fastest. 2:02.35 for Scott Taylor Motorsport. 0.2 of a second clear of Marco Mappelli. And now the cutoff time is a 2:03.6. So you were right to adjust your prediction, Garth Tander. Bryce Fullwood on the bubble to make it through to the top 50% qualifying session in 17th position now at a 2:03.64.
Maro Engel's not in the top 20 at the moment. Lucas R, Roman De Angelis, they're both in the pits for their AMGs. There's some talent that's outside at the moment of that top 50%.
So the pole sitter from last year, he will not make the top 50% qualifying. Now, they can still make it to the Pirelli pole battle. They'll just have to do it from that first session, set an amazing lap time, and then hope. Chris Haase goes second at a 2:02.5, and that cutoff time is now Well, remains forward at a 3.6, so Haase moved himself back up. I think you're safe there. You're second at this point.
30 seconds.
James Taylor, the race director, explains there's 30 seconds remaining in this session. This is David Russell behind the wheel now of the Tigani Motorsport entry team from Wollongong, Central Coast, well, the south of New South Wales, I should say, about an hour south of Sydney. The Superbarn Supermarkets car sharing with the Canberra brothers, James and Theo Konduris and Zach Bates.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Checkered flag, close pit exit.
There's the flag. If you are on a lap now, you can complete it, but that is it. A little toe for David Russell.
Oh, very nice from Cam Waters. Dave Russell needs to buy Waters a coffee after this one, because that was a free kick down Conrod. And you think, oh, that's nice. That's worth 2.5 tenths, and that could be the difference. I've seen the red flag thing on our graphics, but I don't think that's accurate. So Russell's going to be able to finish this lap. He'll come to the line. What does David Russell do? He's currently 19th. He goes to 17th. He is on the bubble.
Exactly. 3-3, exactly as predicted by Mr. Six, sitting next to us.
Well, I had to have a couple of stabs at it, so I could see it rapidly evolving.
Mystic Tanda, as we're going to call them from now on.
Like the interest rates, you can adjust them rapidly, it seems, at the moment. So a 2:03.3 to be 17th, with a 2:02.3 quickest lap time from Cameron Waters. Chris Haase second, Marco Mappelli next. 10th is Chris Meese, so the Ford will get through to the fastest 50%. The struggling brands at the moment, we get a read on where the Corvettes are. Kai Allen across the line goes 8th at a 2:02.8. So he's inside the top 10.
You did say a second, Grillsy. You said a second from the fastest time. And that's half the field is within a second of the fastest time.
So that's bumped Russell out of the 17. Kirchhofer in 17th position at the moment in the McLaren. The stories for mine, Corvette and Ferrari. And right now, I'm saying MIA is a little bit harsh, but they have struggled. Jackson Evans 20th in the Ziggo Sport Tempesta Racing Ferrari from Arise GT.
Chelsea, what about the 888 though? Maro Engel
27th, Lucas Hours 26th.
A second and a half off for that 888.
There's
there
has to be.
There's a story there. Yeah. There is a story there.
Well, if that's a form guide for qualifying, it is going to be an exciting afternoon on the mountain. 222 quickest. They've been there a couple of times this weekend, but a 2:02.3 is the quickest time of the weekend so far. That 55 Audi, it has been there or thereabouts since they rolled the cars out of the trucks on Thursday. Marco Mappelli, great lap for the Lambo in third place. 17 and up go into qualifying number 2, the top 50%. But we should reiterate, you can still make the Pirelli pole battle from qualifying 1. You are going to have to do a very good job, and then you're going to have a stressful 30 minutes watching everyone else go at it on what should in theory be a clearer racetrack with less traffic. But there are some heavy hitters outside of that top 50%. To Elf Oil Pit Lane, what a session it was. Shay Adam.
Talking with the fastest guy at the end of that session, Cam Waters, how hard were you pushing to make sure you just got in the top 17?
Yeah, pretty hard. Kind of just seeing what we got as a car. I think we've done a lot of race car stuff, so that's been really good, and we put some tyres on and see where we ended up. But I feel like there's a fair few people not showing their hand at the moment.
Do you think we're going to see it in the later session when it comes time for the Pirelli pole battle?
Yeah, I think everyone won't be able to help themselves. They'll have a crack for sure. So, yeah, it'll be cool to see where we are in quality trim, and hopefully we can stay up the top.
Most important thing is being at the top tomorrow, though, and I know that's the big focus for you guys. Is this just an added benefit for the crew to show them how fast the car is?
Yeah, 100%. You obviously want to start up the front of the race in the clean air or with the fast cars. So that's obviously our aim. We're not, that committed to try and get pole. Obviously, it'd be nice, but yeah, as long as we're up the front and we can get a good start, we'll be right.
Good luck.
Thanks. Cheers.
Fairly pragmatic Cameron Waters, just playing the cards there. There's a very good chance that he will qualify that car later on this afternoon. What a session it's going to be, though, and it's quite remarkable to talk about the lap times, being used to some pretty cool numbers here, but we've got 18 cars covered by exactly 1 second in this field amongst a great spread of manufacturers. So still to come today as the celebrations continue. It's like they've won the race, but they haven't even qualified for it yet down at Team Q. Oh, that's really special. That's a really cool moment. Tony Quinn, proud of his grandson. And what an amazing thing it is to drive with both two of your sons and your grandson as well. Ryder Quinn, arguably the star of that session in car 101. But what a session it was. Wow, qualifying is going to be awesome. Stay with us, won't you? We're really looking forward to that. Lots more action to come from the Meguiars. Bathurst 12 hour. What a day it's been and what is yet to come. We'll find out soon.